Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast with your host, two-time defending ATV Motocross National Champion, Cody Jensen.
Am I on air? What's up, everybody? We're back. I'm your host, Cody Jensen, and welcome to another special episode 50 of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, CST Tires, available for purchase at shop.csttires.com. 50 freaking episodes. The podcast is nearly 2 years old now, and it's crazy to see where we are based on where we started. Dallas, my brother/producer, is sitting next to me, and literally everything we've learned and accomplished, we did by simply figuring it out, trial by error style, baptized by fire. We basically faked it until, well, I don't know if we made it, but we've welcomed some of the greatest names in ATV racing on the show, from current legends like Chad Wienen and Joel Hetrick to past legends like Digger Doug Gust, Gary Denton, Josh Creamer, Dustin Wimmer, Joe Bird, and many more. We've covered current racing, ATV talks on the Pulp MX show, quad guys getting hotter chicks, and just about everything in between. We've accomplished over 2 million downloads, have had listeners in over 40 countries, started the first ever ATV Racing Fantasy League, Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy, awarded deserving riders Digging Deep Most Improved Pro and Rising Star Awards, hosted a live show at Redbud with the Team USA Quad Cross of Nations team, and more. I don't know how we've done it, but we've done it all for and because of you guys. So many of you enjoy what we do. You're the reason why we do all of this. And we would just want to say thank you for allowing us to share our passion for ATV racing with all of you. That being said, we've accomplished a lot so far, including our previous episode, our Daytona Review podcast, being our biggest episode ever, and it only took 5 days to do so, and we're not slowing down anytime soon. So thank you all once again. We have an awesome episode for you tonight. There's so much to talk about regarding current ATV racing. So PH3 Photos Josh Cline will join us to kick things off and do just that. We'll preview the Palms ATV Motocross National that is right around the corner, wrap up our final thoughts on the Daytona ATV Supercross, talk a little Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy, and more with Josh. Then Alan Myers will join the show to elaborate on his decision to sit out the 2021 season. The former AMA ATV Pro Class podium finisher will tell us what he's up to currently, as well as look to the future and when we can expect to see him return to the races. Finally, our headliner for this episode is legendary ATV racing mechanic Paul Turner. PT has some amazing stories to tell, from his days winning a title wrenching for Travis Spader, then for Digger Doug Gust at Factory Suzuki, winning the most storied event in ATV racing history as a major underdog with Pat Brown, more recently helping Chad Wienen win 3 of his titles, and more. You're going to love this conversation with PT. This episode is yet again stuffed full of so much awesome content that you won't find anywhere else. So let's not waste any more time. Thanks to all of you who are playing Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy with us. And remember, it's not too late to join the first ever ATV Motocross Fantasy League. Sign up today at atvfantasy.com and lock in your picks for 3 Palms. Thanks to our sponsors who are all on board with us tonight. CST Tires, go to shop.csttires.com. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Gripped Gloves, Factory 43, Bikes, Treks, and Quads LLC, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. Their clippers rock, their nose hair trimmers are amazing, and they have a bunch of other cool stuff as well. So check out Manscaped. I wish I would have sooner. Get 20% off with free shipping by using code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. Support all these great companies that support us, and for any products that fall through the cracks, click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out. The season is here. We'll be racing before we know it, and we both know you need parts and gear. No matter what off-road gear parts you need, Rocky Mountain ATVMC has you covered. So before you buy, click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out. And lastly, before we drop the gate here, Digging Deep was deeply saddened to hear of the passing of 6-time ATV Motocross National Champion Michelle Jenkins. Our thoughts and prayers are with her husband, Brian, and the rest of their family during this terribly difficult time. Michelle will be remembered as a fierce competitor and a friend to so many. She will be deeply missed. Rest in peace, number 5. Now, just as she would want, the 30-second board is up, it's sideways, and the gate is down. Time to dig deep. Let's go. All right, guys. Last time we had this guy on, many of you stated that you thoroughly enjoyed him on the show. So we brought him back to finish up anything left to discuss about Daytona and then get you ready for round 2 for the pros, round 1 for the amateurs at Three Palms Action Sports Park in Texas a few weeks from now. Without further ado, brought to you by our friends at Yamaha and their championship winning YFZ 450R. Head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com, follow them on social media at Yamaha Outdoors, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. It's Mr. PH3 Photos himself, Josh Cline. What's up, man? Welcome back.
Hey, how's it going? It's living the dream, just another day in paradise.
Living the dream. That's what I always tell everybody. Living the dream. I don't know whose, but I'm living somebody's dream.
That's right.
What's going on? I feel like we got so much to talk about. Daytona's behind us now. Three Palms is coming up fast. I know, you had some passionate takes, some passionate stuff to talk about after Daytona, which is what sparked me wanting to get you on at this time. And it seems, looking forward that maybe you'll even be more closely involved in the sport than ever before. So it seems like the perfect time to bring you back on and talk some ATV motocross. It's always a good time to talk some ATV motocross.
Absolutely. Yeah, this past Daytona was a little bit different. Last year was my first Daytona, and only being able to shoot from outside the fences was a little different. But this year I was granted access on track, as with COVID, everything kind of changed up. So being able to get on track and feel more comfortable and do what I had to do on track, get shots. And it was an honor. It was definitely a bucket list item. So glad I was able to make the trip and catch up on all the action. So I was glad to be on track.
That's awesome. Well, that's one of the reasons why I want to touch on the Daytona stuff a little bit, because you were there, like I was just telling you before we hit record on this thing, to just get another unique perspective, kind of give us the stuff that you saw. I want to touch on that before we move on to Three Palms, but also, talking about getting that track access, all those things. That's got to be an awesome feeling for you. I mean, it's got to feel like you've come so far in such a short period of time. And then that kind of leads me to what I wanted to touch on next with, Ken Hill, a friend of so many of ours, a legend, with his current health situation. Did I see that you're going to maybe have an increased role with shooting for the series? Am I kind of on point with that?
Yeah. And it really goes back to Redbud. When I met Ken and didn't know who Ken was, and going back to like our previous discussion on last episode, shooting at Ironman for the pro only day and getting a connection with the series and having the pleasure of, traveling the series last year and as a whole, and meeting the people in the series, the connection and kind of establishing myself. I received a message from ATV Motocross asking if I would be interested in stepping in and helping out with the series this year. It's an honor, but it's kind of, I don't know, Ken's health is important. I don't, with everything going on with him, I'm hoping they get things figured out. There's a lot on his plate, and to see him stepping away at Aonia from the GNCC, but yet he was still there, he wants to be there. That's Ken. That's what he does. That's what he wants to do. I don't know to what extent he's going to be traveling the series. But I think, having this opportunity, I'm thoroughly grateful for the opportunity and even consideration. There's many photographers around that could do the job and do it well. And I'm just happy that they, reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in doing that.
Yeah, man. Awesome opportunity for you, of course. Like you said there, I mean, obviously we need to say that, our thoughts and prayers are with Ken. That goes without saying. I love that guy so much. Sounds like his body is battling against him a little bit at the moment, but anybody who knows Ken knows that it's going to take a whole lot more to keep him down than that. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, it seemed like so many of us, our track family, our ATV racing family, our racing family is our family.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I hope that we can still see him maybe at the races, traveling around a little bit, doing something else for the series, whatever he can do. He's such a staple. He does so much for the series that I feel like probably most people don't even know all the different hats that he wears at times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to touch on that, but yeah, man, awesome opportunity for you. And I think that it's gonna have you even more up close and personal with the series, with the racers, with all the stuff going on. And again, it's got to feel like you've come so far in such a short period of time. I hope that
Yeah.
it's been such a pleasant opportunity for you that you think back to like, how did I get here? It
Yep.
seems like you're so plugged in. You're really a key player in these national events. So you touched on, being there at Daytona and stuff. Tell me about the Daytona experience for you, because as fans, it was a pretty fantastic start to what I think is going to be an incredible season. Don't you think? It was a great start to the series.
Yeah, it definitely, I guess you could, it definitely raised some eyebrows. There was many aspects, and I think with the new rookies and those that have stepped away from the sport were not there. You really got to see who could sprint, who could, hang. And I think, establishing a pecking order, you can't do it in one race. Daytona is much different than everything else. The speed, the corners, the lap times, everything is going to be way different at Texas. That's coming up. Daytona, I mean, for me, I think Daytona is Daytona. It's Daytona. We can't
Mhm.
get from that. But to factor it into the series and everything, it's so much more of a different setup. And whether it be a points race or not, it's a great way to kick off the season, But I think once we get to Texas, we're gonna really see where things shake out.
Yeah, for sure. I do think that it's a great spectacle. It's a great way to kick everything off. The exciting part is that, like you said, I mean, you don't know where the pecking order is, and I don't know. I mean, it could take a long time to figure out where these guys are all going to shake out, because there's a lot of guys that it just, you don't know where they fit, because there's too many riders
Yep.
there's too many podium guys for the podium. There's too many top 5 guys for the top 5, and so on. So I want to touch on a few things here, kind of finishing up the Daytona talk, starting, at the front with the two past champions of the class, and how they stacked up against each other at the season opener there, Chad Wienen and Joel Hetrick, of course. What were your thoughts after round 1 of racing, seeing how those two stacked up with each other?
And I think Chad, he played it smart. He saw that Joel was out and he said it on the podium. He said that Joel was out in front and didn't know where he was when that series of events unfolded, but he raced a smart race. That's Chad. That's what he does. He runs smart, and he's not going to burn himself out on one race. He's on the podium for a reason. Other riders, you got Janusa. I mean, almost a similar scenario to Alan Myers last year. The right place, the right time, the consistency, and the drive. Put him in the right spot. And to see Wesley, everybody running. I'm curious if anybody had, 2, maybe 3. I don't know if anybody had all 3 in fantasy picked that way. I know I didn't. And it just, it definitely it stirred the pot a little bit to make people look at, okay, are we sleeping on somebody? It is, was snow cross training as I was, as Janusa, plowing the track in the winter. I definitely, I'll admit it, I was sleeping on him. I had him pegged for a 5th, 6th place, and there he was. But yeah, Joel and Chad, it's going to be a knock him out, drag him out. I know Joel's got his work cut out for him, but I'm going to say it's going to come down and it's going to be work, but I think he's going to be there come the end of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, what we've been talking about on some of these recent episodes is the fact that it's different this time. You know, Joel, it's like he's got a new toy to play with. He's got, you know, a new battle weapon, or however you want to say it. It felt like at the end of last season, it went without saying, and then Joel kind of confirmed it to us that he was kind of spent by the fact that, you know, that maybe he was being held back on what he was riding. You know, I think that's, as we look to Three Palms, and we'll get into this a little more as we go here, but as we look to Three Palms, that's going to be really, really interesting to me, because that's one of the places that he said that he felt like you could finally tell he was just a tick behind with being on the Honda.
Yep.
And, it's going to be interesting. Now, I mean, you know, Joel's going to feel like he's got a little ground to make up, right? You know, he's obviously in a points hole. He's overcome it before, but you know, maybe his room for error is a little less now.
Yeah. Well, and if you look back at some of the videos from, like for example, from Texas, Three Palms, I know they're in that pro section, and it hurts my back to watch every time he cased that jump. And I think, you know, that ride at the time with that Honda, he was putting everything he had, and it was just a little bit short. And so now, like with the Yamaha, that power's there. I think they're pretty close to figuring and being with it. I think that's going to be the factor, and you know, he's going to be there.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about, really, was that pro section, hanging up his tires a little bit, and then watching Chad get over it so clean. And it doesn't make sense that such a big guy like Chad should be able to get over things cleaner than what Joel does. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be like a very, and I don't even know that it works this way, but perception wise, you're going to compare what you saw with Joel last year and what you see with Joel this year. And that's going to kind of, you know, be your measuring stick as to how far ahead his program may be on this new machine. That itself is going to be really interesting. The other interesting part, like I was going to say before, is that with Joel needing to make up, you know, he's got to make up some points here. He was already in sicko mode. He was already trying to prove a point. He told us this much, trying to make a statement. He's going to be out to make a statement again. You can guarantee it. You can stamp it. You can bet on it. So that part is going to be interesting to me. And obviously, like you said, we're going to see a knockdown, drag out war. And I think it's going to go till the end.
Absolutely. You know, it's you can, and you know, you have pros that have this look in their eyes when they're set out. And I think the most scary one that I've seen is Joel, is when he's relaxed going to the line. Because when he's relaxed and he's got that, you know, that focused, relaxed look, you know, it's a different kind of look that the other riders have. And it's go time. I got a picture of him last year at Ironman, and I took it between mechanics, and he's just relaxed on the bars, cool, calm, and collected. And he just kind of, just after I snapped the picture, he happened to look over at me, and he just kind of chuckled and was straight game face. And to see that kind of look, and then, you know, Chad's got his game face. You know, they're different looks, but when it comes down to it and the gate drops, it's all business.
Yeah, I mean, those guys both. I mean, they obviously, you know, they're two of the greatest of all time for a reason. So just interesting always to see how they work. And as you kind of touched on him already, Nick Janusa, he earned his, you know, second career Pro Class podium there. And man, after we learned how little riding time, you talked about the snow and stuff. We touched on it on the last episode. Some of the other hurdles that he had to endure there makes you think that, you know, he could be just getting better. He could only get better from here. That's the way it feels. And I would say it's almost different than Alan, because Alan was the fourth guy last year at Daytona, you know, and then Thomas goes down, loses that top three spot. Janusa, Nick, was hanging on to those front two for half of the race. And then for the rest of the race was clearly the third best guy. He was really, you could argue, the third best guy all day. You know, he was fast in qualifying, won his heat race, and again, was at that front pack with the front two for the longest time. So I think that he was probably one of the most impressive things there. And if he's going to keep getting better, then he has the potential to be a podium regular. He could very much be the guy that steps up as the Thomas Brown replacement. If he can replicate what he did at Daytona, he could surely be a regular on the podium.
Yeah, definitely. And I, from my point of view, spectator, and photographer, I love the idea of not having a replacement. I like to see the fight.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
You never know. It's like, okay, who's going to take it today?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, and then if there's a bobble and somebody's there, do they slide in between Joel and Chad and really mix things up?
Right.
The replacement aspect. It's like, yeah, I just want to see. I would love to see a different person.
Oh, for sure. And I guarantee you're going to see it. I mean, you are going to see it. It's not going to be like Thomas is there, but for all those guys, kind of when you're talking tier 2 guys or whatever, they all want to be the guy that fills Thomas's role. So I guess that's how I think about it. I mean, they want to be the guy that's on the podium on the regular, but that'll be a tall task for sure. Want to touch, we're going to move on to Three Palms completely here real quick, but I wanted to touch on some of these top storylines with you. Wesley Wolf, he earned his first career podium. It's got to be pretty special to have that happen at Daytona. We tried our hardest to get him on this episode because I really wanted to talk to him about, obviously the awesome day that he had, but he kept his plans under wraps in the off season. He shows up at Daytona. He's joined the JH Racing team with Johnny Hale over there, comes out and podiums his first race. Super impressive day for Wesley, and get this, 0% of people picked him in Digging ATVMX Fantasy at Daytona. Not a single person took him as their tier 2 pick. I can't believe that. Talk about a dark horse. He gets on the podium, and I guarantee he's going to be on some fantasy teams as we head to Three Palms.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And there was a couple of segments once I got out on the track and looked at it, and I looked at him and I walked through the pits and I said, I'm going to say 50% of your passes come from this section because it's so choppy and so rough. That's where you're going to find your comfort. He goes, you think so? And he came off the track after the podium and he goes, yeah, I see what you were talking about, and it was kind of funny. So, but yeah, congrats to him. He rode a strong day and, he earned it. I mean, he was there. So,
yeah, I mean, I think, and we've been saying, it feels like for the last couple seasons, it feels like as long as I've had the podcast here, if he could take just one step forward, he was going to battle for podiums. I mean, he's been that guy that's, 4th, 5th, 6th. He's been there. He's always there. Right. So it feels like he kind of took that step. He's never had a podium before. He's got a really good program. He put himself in good position. He gets the podium spot. And I just wonder if that's going to, kind of light even more of a fire underneath him, if he's going to be able to take a little bit more of a leap. He had a hell of a battle with Max Lindquist there. That looked amazing. And to think, Wesley's been in the class for a handful of years, kind of worked his tail off, finally got this podium. Max was right there. And as a 17-year-old rookie, that's crazy to see. I mean, we've talked up and down about his pro class debut. He obviously finished 4th, an amazing 4th place finish there for him. So he was the most picked rider in Digging Deep Fantasy, which is pretty impressive. Almost 70% of people there. He was the tier 3 pick there. He's graduating to tier 2 now. So be aware of that, everybody out there, as you prepare your fantasy team for round 2. But yeah, he had a hell of a ride. And then, kind of mixed in that pack was Brandon Hogue. He rounded out the top 5. And I said it once, I'll say it again, at the midway point of that race, it looked like he was going to be the possible podium guy. Knowing what we know now with Joel going out of the race, he ended up sticking it in a berm and ultimately didn't go down that way. But I do think, as we touch on Brandon Hogue here, I think that was a great starting point for his 2021 season, especially after the early exit last year. Yeah,
definitely. And it even came across to me that he wasn't happy with where he ended up, because he knows he can do better. And I think he's got his mind trained to, it's all in 100% all day. And I mean, yeah, you have to have that mindset. I get that. But I definitely see a different vision from Brandon this year than years past. And I think he's going to be right there. He's going to be in that top 5, mixing it up for sure at numerous stops. So,
oh, for sure. I mean,
don't count him out.
no, he doesn't want to be top 5. You know, he doesn't want to just be top
No.
5. So
Nope.
he's pushing for more than that. And we saw a glimpse of that at Daytona. I mean, that's what I was kind of trying to touch on there, is we saw a glimpse of it. Like he went by Wesley and went by Max. And then, you know, it seemed after, you know, he kind of got passed back there after he made a little mistake, things unraveled a little bit. But yeah, I think that we're going to see him push that front pack, I think, for sure. And the last thing I want to touch on before we primarily look at Three Palms here is the situation with Joel Hetrick, who we all know by now got, you know, contacted, you know, with a lapper while leading. I don't want to beat the dead horse here. We covered it in depth on our previous episode, but you fired back on social media shortly after the incident, and just wanted to allow you to touch on the situation here, if you'd like.
Yeah, I, you know, it definitely, I didn't see the incident from my point of view. I was sitting at the wall jump waiting for them to come around.
Okay.
You know, and from hearing official, you know, and conversations and stuff, it just, I think Mike being not as active on social media and not being so, I guess, confrontational with seeing what everybody's saying, and everybody just, you know, oh, rookie this and lapper that. Daytona is different. Like we said, how many other races in pro ATV motocross are we going to be lapping into the top 10, top 8 riders? They're going to go in, they're battling, you know, and to have that incident and that happen, you know, it's tough. And it's tough for Mike. Yes, it's tough for Joel too. Absolutely. You know, it took him out of the race, and definitely, you know, some said it took him out of the championship. I don't think so. I think Joel is strong enough rider. He's going to make his statement. He's going to come back. In the meantime, you've got Mike that's really bummed about it. They're good friends. They talk. Like Joel said, they talked. They're good, you know, but Mike doesn't appear to me in talking that he's happy with it. He's definitely by no means happy that it happened. You know, and from that point, you know, it's a learning experience as well. And it's unfortunate for Mike, but I think going into Three Palms, he's got a statement he wants to make as well. And I've got Mike as my pick in fantasy. So I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say, you know, there was intention, there wasn't, you know, it's racing. You're 8th place, you're battling bar to bar, you come around a corner, you know, I don't know, I can't say if he did or didn't see Joel, if he didn't look over at him or didn't look at him, but when you're battling bar to bar and there's no sound, then there's sound, you know, who is it? Is it the guy I'm battling position for? You know?
Well, the tough part is so Mike had people all around him, right? When you look at some of the videos, you see Jeffrey is right in front of him.
Yep.
And we know that he was battling with Logan Stanfield throughout the race.
Right.
Logan is right behind him on his other side, and Joel is on his right side. And as a racer, I mean, you obviously don't know like exactly where everybody is, right? You just hear machines.
Yeah.
You hear machines.
You hear Yamaha.
And I said this, I think, on the last episode, but Joel is going so much faster than everybody else. Joel is coming up so fast on those guys. I mean, again, like you said, he was in 8th place. He was in 8th place. That's how much faster he was going. I mean, and you're exactly right. When do you lap into the top 8 like that? Like, feel like we don't need to go too in depth here because Jeffrey had a problem at the beginning of the race, but Joel was coming around to lap Jeffrey. Like that doesn't happen. So these are riders. It's not like Supercross where, you know, you're always lapping into the top 10. Like if you're a mid-pack guy, you're getting lapped, you know how to get lapped. That's not something that happens in ATV motocross. There's also far fewer blue flags out there that's just not something that we have because typically that's not something that's a major problem. If you're on an outdoor track and you're getting lapped, that probably means you're having some something, go on with the machine, something wrong with your body, whatever. You're just trying to make laps to get points, right? If you're getting lapped in an outdoor track. So tough situation for everybody involved. Obviously, Mike didn't want to be this guy, didn't want to impact the races. He was
Nobody does.
Right. He was just out there doing his best. I thought that the conversation we had with Joel, I thought Joel handled it like a champ. The stuff that he did say about wanting to hear from Mike or, wanting Mike to address it publicly just came from Joel looking out for Mike. Like he wanted everybody to get off Mike's back. I thought that, the reason why we touched on it the way I did, and the reason why I tried to, to go to bat for Mike, like a mistake is a mistake, but I've been that guy. Like I already said, I'd been that guy, a guy that, you never get lapped. You don't get lapped. You're a fringe top 10 guy. You don't get lapped, but you got lapped at Daytona. And if anything, I gave the leader a little too much room. And, it was just the exact opposite, but I've been that guy and I know how tough of a situation it is. And again, I just want, you want people to realize that, you hear bikes behind you hear a bike coming, but he probably just assumed it was Logan Stanfield. I mean, he didn't know it was Joel. Like, so, just feel
that's
like
the mindset I go with.
Yeah. I just wanted to touch on it because I thought that, you had a pretty respectable and good take out there before there was many of them, when everything was so hot. You were already out there, speaking some good reason there. So with that, I want to shift our focus to Three Palms then, which is almost more exciting than Daytona. I feel like you kind of said, Daytona is an outlier. Now we're going outdoors for the first full time, full on ATV National of the 2021 season, which all of us couldn't be more excited about. It's at an absolutely gorgeous venue. Facility's amazing there. That's a place that I absolutely loved last year when it was the first time that we went down there. So I feel like we saw some great racing there last year. And I feel like if last year's event is any indication, we're in for a treat when we get down there this year.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the other factor too, and like you had said with Joel, we're going to look at the two different, rides. I think it's still fresh in a lot of our minds because Three Palms was the end of last season. Now, Three Palms, the beginning of the season, we're going to be able to look at these two more fresh in our mind to see, okay, where's the difference at? And this facility, I'm not following the series, for too long of a time, but it's definitely one of my top three. I think it's got a great diverse, area as far as whether it be for parking, for spectator viewing. The track, definitely looks tighter in video than what it actually is. And there was some good lines. There was multiple line options to where you could, set up and make moves. But the racing from the pros to the amateurs is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, last year that track made for some incredible racing. Some of the best racing that we saw, I feel like, last year. Yep. I do like the fact that now it's different. It's more man-made. It's more, I don't know, Supercrossy or whatever. But I like that it's different because, we go to all of these outdoor national tracks, and to just have a little change up is something that I think is good. Now you're exactly right. It feels like we were just there. Like it feels like that actually was the last national that I was at. So it feels like we were just there. But it should be really good. That was an awesome place. And to go from something that's so good, like Three Palms, to something that's a little iffy is your Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy season. It started off a little iffy for you, Josh.
Yeah.
A little shaky. You're currently tied for 114th. But you're looking to rebound in Texas. Your team for Daytona started off with Joel Hetrick. And as we, kind of a way to talk about the racing at Three Palms, he was your tier one rider there. So Are you just, as we re-rack these guys, are you just going to pick Joel Hetrick once again and roll with him as your tier one rider again?
I'm going to go with Joel for tier one. That's my tier one pick. I don't know. And it's, like you said, I think Joel has something to prove again, more so. So I like the aggression, the aggressive riding, the speed that he's got. And, I think he's still got some haters that are sitting there. They're like, He don't have the bike figured out. He's still got some things to do. He's too new. I think it was just a spur of the moment. That was his type of track. Well, here we go. Chad last year. Here comes Joel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. If anybody's got doubts after seeing what he did at Daytona, like how fast he was going, I don't know. I don't know that they saw the same race that I did. There's definitely no doubts there. But it is hard to predict because, we saw some great racing there last year with those guys, racing that ultimately decided the championship, really. That was a super, super pivotal race there, obviously, penultimate round. The first moto, we saw Chad inch out Joel, but it was neck and neck. It was a good battle. Chad gets the W in Moto 1 there. Remember, that was a 3-moto format doubleheader last time. And Moto 2, Joel ran away with the win. Okay, so now, we've had a neck and neck battle. We've had a, kind of a dominant Joel Hetrick battle or Joel Hetrick performance. Then Moto 3 of the doubleheader. So that was on Sunday. Remember, Chad Wienen raced through the whole top 5 past Joel and claimed the pivotal victory that kind of gave him the cushion, for the south of the border finale. So I feel like it is hard to predict, but so I have 2 things. Originally, I was thinking what's stuck in my mind is how good Chad was there last year. Like he was good, and he stepped up to the plate when he had to make it happen on Sunday. He stepped up to the plate like big time. So that was
he did what champion had to do.
Exactly. But Joel, like I said, I'll use the word again. Joel, you have to imagine, as long as his health is where it needs to be, he's going to be in sicko mode. Like we saw him at Daytona trying to make a statement, like he admitted to us. Then he admitted to us that he was out there to make a statement. And you best believe he's really going to be out to make a statement after what happened in Daytona. It's going to be hard to pick against Joel, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just, that's going to be tough
It'll be fun to watch though, because go ahead.
When he clicks off that gate, I think in the first moto, it's going to be too late to change your picks.
See, and this is the thing. And I said this to Chad, and I don't know if he heard it the way I meant it or the way I said it, but I mean, he kind of got the best of everything, right? Like he got max points at Daytona.
Yep.
Now he got, some time off to, go get all his stuff in order. We know that him and Danica just had a child, just like Joel and Carly did.
Yep.
So that there was a lot going on there. So he was going to go home, be able to get his ducks in a row, and then go to Texas and still feel like he had something to prove. And he's got he got max points. Like I felt like he's kind of got a little bit, got max points, but he's also got something kind of lighting a fire under his tail. Right. So I feel like it's going to be really interesting. And I feel like it's just going to be the beginning of a bunch of good battles out there. So I want to tie up the tier 1 talk by touching on Bryce Ford and asking where you think he stacks up, because he was on fire there last year. And when you think about Bryce Ford's rookie season, I mean, those some of the splashes, some of the the little sparks he showed us, the glimpses of stuff he showed us at Three Palms are what are definitely stuck in my mind as the highlights of his season. At Three Palms last year, he was grabbing hole shots. He was fast qualifier on Sunday. He finished on the podium. He passed Chad Wienen at one point. He led Joel Hetrick for a while. I mean, and him, I mean, he's going to be motivated. Like, he expects and hopes and thinks he can go win races now, going, to his home track or whatever down there, riding on a track he knows, a track he did well at last year. And then to have the motivation of having a not up to snuff day with what happened at Daytona, a couple mechanical problems and stuff, and then having to start in the back and race all the way through the pack. Best believe he's going to be as motivated as could be too.
Oh yeah. And it would, the way the fantasy set up, I want to pick,
I know. I feel the same.
It's like, how do you go that way? So,
but I feel like if he was in tier 2, he'd be everybody's pick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And if I had to pick, I would say Bryce gets a moto win and takes podium.
Oh boy. Moto win.
Yeah. I think he'll pull. He was his speed and pulling the whole shot at Texas, home race, you know, they had the bus full of fans on top. He still went out and handled business.
Oh yeah.
Is unfortunate with mechanical and stalling on the gate at Daytona, which I think, you know, it could have, the stalling on the gate may have been somewhat of a saving grace to him, because he would have been
honestly
everything.
Yep.
Getting to start, and to him to come all the way back up from where he did to, you know, get through at Daytona and finish where he did. He had drive. If he has that drive at Texas, he's going to podium. He's a moto win, and he would be, as far as, you know, just a matter of his second moto where he ends up, you know, second or third on the podium.
Well, and the interesting part is looking at his rookie season, he was the closest to the front two at Three Palms.
Yeah. Well, Chad they had to work back and forth, and
that's what I'm saying. I mean, he was just overall looking at his performance, his speed, everything. He was the closest to the front two there. And you know, in year two, I mean, mentally and just like his expectations, everything, like they're that much higher now. So that's going to be really fun to watch. I mean, there's guys that are going to pick him, and man, if it pays off, going to be ballsy, but it's kind of within the realm of possibility. You know, it'll be fun to see there. He's one of the guys that, you know, I think so many of us are focusing on, and particularly at Texas, because we know that the ceiling is high there for sure. So that could very easily be the podium. It could be the three tier one riders, and nobody would be surprised. But as we look to tier two, who's going to challenge for that podium spot? Who are you picking for tier two? Last week at Daytona, you took Jeffrey, I believe. And the choices being here are Nick Janusa, Wesley Wolf, Max Lindquist now, Brandon Hogue, and Jeffrey Rastrelli. This is such a difficult grouping to pick from. So many good choices here. I feel like it's a toss-up. All of them are a good choice. But who are you going to pick for tier two, you think?
Yeah, that group, I tell you what, that's tough.
You feel like you're doing everybody a disservice too.
You do. And you know, it's like, thanks to Casey, you start thinking about how many gray hairs, starting to think, oh, you know, who am I going to offend? But I've made my picks.
Hey, especially when you have Chad Wienen come on your podcast and he's like, hey, who'd you pick?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I've made my picks, and I'm not going to change it. And you can, you know, I usually make my picks and they stick.
Okay.
I'm going with Jeffrey. I've got Jeffrey as my pick. So
awesome.
I think staying healthy, and he's looking like he's fired up and ready to ride. So, you know, the starting pile up at Daytona, I think it just kind of added to it. You know, you're seeing him, he's posting on Instagram and his stories, and, you know, he's out running, he's working out. And maybe I'm wrong because I'm following more this year than last year, but it seems like he's putting in a lot more physical work than he did last year. And to see that motivation, I think it's a different side of Jeffrey, and I'm glad to see it.
Well, so, and I wonder with Jeffrey, like, I wonder if he thinks about it, like, because for years, it was him and Thomas Brown every weekend. Every weekend, it was him and Thomas Brown for the top three, for at least, you know, 2-3 seasons. That's what it was. And so now, you know, when you look at tier two, like he's the only guy that's been there for a long time. You know, he's got 19 podiums. His next podium will be his 20th podium. The other guys have 1 or 2 or 3, you know, and combined. So I just wonder in his mind, if it's like, man, if I can just tap into what I've done, like I could be the Thomas Brown, get on the podium every weekend, be a step ahead of those other guys. He's done it. And it's tough for me because, you know, you want to always bet or you don't want to bet with your heart, but sometimes it's hard to turn, you know, your feelings off about it. And Jeffrey might be my pick every weekend if I went with my heart, but, you know, we raced each other for forever. We go way back to being kids racing each other. I really want to see him do well. So I would be stoked if,
absolutely,
you know, if he's that top rider getting on the podium and stuff there. Going to be fun to watch. And I hope that he can distance himself from what last year was for him. I mean, last year just seemed like struggles struggles throughout. It sounded, I mean, candidly, with a conversation I had with him in Texas last year, I would have bet everything I had that he wasn't coming back. And he came back probably because obviously he still loves it. Obviously he's got something to prove. Obviously we know that he wasn't at, 100% top notch, all Jeffrey Roselli. That was obvious. Like that wasn't him out there last year at the best of his ability.
Yep.
He still got stuff to prove, but I got to believe that some of it is, hey, we got this new program, new bike, everything's going to be better. You're going to, be basically taking, it's not going to be a knife to a gunfight anymore. And I feel like as soon as he has, some good positive things happen, some good performances, some good finishes, I feel like that could be dangerous because then you might see it every weekend from Jeffrey. It's just as soon as you can tap into it once, he might be able to hold on to it throughout this thing.
Right. And not only that, but going into Texas, he's not injured this round. Last year at Texas, he had an injury, and, he definitely, you could tell, when he got off at the end of the moto, that man was in some pain. And I tell you what, to see him go 100% at Texas, that's another, solidifying reason why I've got him, as my pick. He's due. He's definitely due.
Oh, absolutely. Man, I think if you're putting me on the spot right now, I'd have a hard time going against Nick Janusa. Obviously with how good he looked at Daytona, then you combine that with last year, he had a 5th and a 4th at the doubleheader there, 5th on Saturday, 4th on Sunday. And like I said, and I think I said it on the last episode, but with where his mind is, and it's like the subconscious confidence that he has. And he kind of touched on it in the interview we did with him, but with him being in such a good spot, I think he's going to be going to the line, feeling dangerous, right? Like he's going to feel dangerous, and it's just going to be if he can get good enough starts. And that's that was the reason why I didn't take him at Daytona. Honestly, if we're talking fantasy, is because I didn't know if he was going to get the starts he needed, and he put himself in great position, and it was never in doubt.
Yeah. And I kind of chuckle at I got a picture of him and his dad when he come off the track, and he's sitting there and he just kind of looks over at the fans and kind of gives them, the payday kind of twitch.
Yeah.
And I just kind of laughed, and I was like, that's Nick. He's having fun. He's feeling good. He's here. He's not going anywhere. And it's going to be an interesting year to see him contend for that top podium. So
yeah, absolutely. And that group is so interesting to me. I mean, Nick Janusa, can he, prove to be a podium guy, regularly as we go outdoors? Can Wesley Wolf, can he put himself in position to maybe, at least even if he doesn't get a podium, can he compete with that top 3? You got Max Lindquist, who was obviously close last week. Now we're going to go outdoors, see what he can do. Brandon Hogue, like I said, I mean, he could finish 3rd and it wouldn't even be a surprise, I feel like, because we know what his ceiling is. And then Jeffrey Roselli, like I said, I mean, 19 podiums, that tier 2 there is so interesting to me. I feel like you said, it could be a different guy every weekend. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was a different guy every weekend. And that's going to be really interesting to see. Tier 3 is probably a 3-man race between Logan Stanfield, Michael Allred, who jumped up from tier 4 after his Daytona performance there. Good finish for him. And I would say Cody Ford. It's probably those 3 in tier 3 that are kind of in the mix for your picking there. I know Troy Hill is also in that tier. I don't know if he'll be back or whatever. But I'm thinking that the vast majority of people are going to be looking at that 3. Who are you leaning towards for tier 3? You had Max there for Daytona. So did 70% of people, like we said. Can't take him anymore. Who are you looking at for tier 3?
And
oh, you said already. You said you're going with Mike.
Yeah, I'm going with Mike. And with the incident with Joel, I think had Joel stayed upright, I think the conversation with Michael Allred would be a totally different scenario.
Yep.
Coming to Daytona, he goes in and takes a top 10. And not only that, but in his heat, he was wheel to wheel with Bryce for the whole shot. At the line, I think some people kind of, without having the live feed or video or anything like that, you couldn't see it because it was opposite of the starting gate. But wheel to wheel with Bryce for the whole shot, I saw that and I had to step back and look just to be sure I was looking at the right, like, okay, all right, that's Mike. All right, this is a little different. And he showed that he wanted it. And to take him lightly at this point, I think is a mistake. And he's there.
Okay, so to play devil's advocate, that can go both ways because Mike is good at starts. And
Yes.
at Daytona, it was a no-brainer, especially in tier 4. I mean, it was no brainer for me.
Okay.
But if you get a good start in a pro race, maybe even more so at a national, at an outdoor track, and then, I mean, I'm not saying this would happen to Mike, but just figuratively speaking, you get a good start and you start getting steamrolled by these guys. I mean, that can be a mental, like that can be something. So I'm just throwing it out there. But yeah, I mean, Mike puts himself in good position. And I do think, again, I just said that to play devil's advocate, but he is mature, more so than some of those, other rookies. I mean, he's more mature than that. He's a little bit older. He's got probably a different perspective than some of them just with where he's at in life.
Yeah.
So I do think that, I mean, it's obviously not a bad pick there. I do think that those 3 riders are probably going to find each other on the racetrack, and
no doubt.
They're going to be able to duke it out for the top tier spot in tier 3 there. And this is a tough one for me because I like Mike. I mean, we got a history racing against each other, in 25 plus. So, I want to see Mike do well. I picked Cody Ford last year and this year, both to be my most improved pro. And I know people close to the situation expect a whole lot more out of Cody. They expect him to be in that tier 2 mix. And he's a guy that's got a podium. So his ceiling is high. But I'm going Logan Stanfield. And this was the tier that I had to do the least thinking about for me because I think that Logan is like, so watching what we saw last year, Logan shouldn't be in tier 3. It's like, or there should be a tier 3 and it's like, he's the only guy, because I do feel like he has the potential to be a step ahead of those guys. And maybe he's up in tier 2, mixing it up with those guys, or maybe he's just a touch off from them. But I do think he's got the potential to be a step ahead of those other tier 3 riders. So for me, it's Logan Stanfield. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see some of that pick trend with Logan Stanfield that we saw with Max at Daytona, where you see, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see 50, 60+% of people taking Logan here. But then at the same time, I mean, I don't know if, Cody Ford, one of these weekends is going to show us something. I think, cause we've been hearing it here on the show. We talked to his mechanic, Nick Hickey, and he kind of filled us in there, but Mike too, man, he's just feel like he's going to be consistent. So tier 3, man, maybe I was more sure about it before I started talking about it, but I'm still going to stick with Logan Stanfield. I think that he's a solid pick there. And I think that he's going to look to be a step ahead of where he was kind of in at least where it shook out with him at Daytona. I feel like he's surely going to be better than that going forward. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah. You really, in that tier, you really, regardless of who you pick, I don't think you have a bad pick at any.
They're all good picks. Those 3 guys are all good picks.
Yeah. And, I went down to Daytona and I was down there a little early, which was kind of cool, which last year flying down, this year I drove down. Watching the way Mike went about his practices, and he had Thomas Brown there, and they were working on things.
Yep.
Watching him put in a full moto, I can see that from my point of view, whereas I can't see the other riders. But I mean, that kind of played into my factor and why I picked Mike. And I think that's going to really show outdoor at Texas.
Hey, and I've said, so when I went pro, I must have been, I don't know, 21, 22, something like that.
A couple weeks ago.
And at that point, you're such a kid yet. And I've been saying that if I could go back and be 27, 28, like I am now, I feel like it would be night and day. Cause at that point, it was like every practice, every jump, every lap, everything. It was like the whole world depended on this. And I wish I could go back now. And now I'm in too deep doing digging deep and all this stuff. I got way too much stuff going on, but I would love to go back now and be at the mental state I am now, where I'm just having a ball, riding my quad. There's no pressure, and just knowing like, hey, my physical ability, or my ability on the four-wheeler puts me here. Don't put any pressure on yourself, just go ride. And I do get that sense from Mike that it's like, even though these are his first pro races, he's just going to go out and be the same Michael Allred that we've seen him be for the last 2-3 years that I've been, really following him. And I do feel like, that's why, again, it's a little harder now that he's in tier 3, but as a tier 4 pick, he was a no brainer for me, because he was going to be solid.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of comical too. Now, I guess once you become a pro, you and your wife have to have a kid. So they've got Revan on the way, and that's pretty cool. So congrats to them on that. They were pretty cool. And talking to them, he just really seemed like you said, he's just going out there riding, having fun, keeping his composure. And I think that's the biggest aspect of Michael. I think that's going to benefit him in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
He's right there.
Yep. He's just steady, and that's what you can expect out of him. So last comment I'm going to make on it is, I don't want to just pass by it, because that's not what's expected of you when you're a rookie. That's not the norm. It doesn't matter how old you are or whatever. That's not the norm. So credit to Mike, and yeah, we're cheering for him. So that's a tough tier to pick there. So then the guys that are left make up tier 4, guys like Witek, the Polish rider, Michael Perkins, Cesar Jimenez, Ty Hudson, etc. There's going to be more guys in there, obviously, than that. Who will be rounding out your 4-man team there, Josh, for who's your tier 4 rider?
And
it was Mike. It was Mike. So you can't just pick the same rider.
No, I'm actually going to go with the Pride of Poland on this one. I'm going to go with Witek.
Witek coming off a top 10, made a last lap pass to earn that top 10. Pretty impressive there. So congrats to him. He's also a Digging Deep listener. So we're fans of his for sure. He shot us a message and said he'd love to be on the podcast sometime. So we're going to get him on sometime soon for sure. I feel like that's a solid pick. So tell me why.
Unfortunate, in the start, he got bottled up into that whole start. But to see, the adaptation and how quickly he adjusted from the riding style overseas to the Daytona track. I'm excited to see what he does in Texas. I think we definitely saw the speed. We saw the drive there. So I think he's going to be a force to reckon with in that tier. And who's to say he doesn't, place well enough and get bumped up.
Sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Especially early on going to the first outdoor races here. Yes, there's going to be some fluctuation because we're still trying to figure out where all these guys fit. So it was really insightful to hear what Gloop said about, the bigger jumps and stuff for these guys are foreign to them, at least somewhat, because that's not what they ride in Europe. So obviously he was impressive to us at Daytona there, but this is going to be a different type of track, not that different. And there's also, if it's like the last time we were there, there was no gigantic make or break jumps. Like, it was all pretty safe and stuff like that, but it will be interesting to see how it all plays out for him at this, first outdoor race, how he stacks up there. But yeah, Witek, I feel like he could very easily be the pick trend there. I feel like he could be the guy that's going to get most of the picks there because we saw him in the top 10. But if he races, I think I'm going to go with McCain Richards. Texas guy, fast on that track. He finished runner up to to Max Lindquist in Pro-Am last season. So if you remember, he beat Michael Allred for the overall second place finish there in Pro-Am. So I think he could be a sleeper pick. I would have liked to keep that in my back pocket and not even tell it to anybody, but I do think that he could be a good pick there. I'm always worried too, in time qualifying will tell us who's all there, but feel like some people put too much stock in how time qualifying goes. Cause especially when you're getting into these tier 4 riders, you got to think of fitness, you got to think of program, you got to think of equipment, you got to think of the whole combination, who's going to be the most solid, who's going to make it till the end of the race, who's going to do all the laps hard. And I feel like he could be that guy, but again, he's a rookie. He's never raced a pro race before. So it's kind of a question mark, but I think he would be my pick if he is racing. And I'm assuming, being that he's got a pro license, we're going to see him in Texas, I would think.
Yeah. Everybody go pick him. That way I got at least one up and I can get some points back out of this deal.
Yeah. So I wondered, and this is something that would have been fun as a rider. I feel like when I was a pro rider, I wonder if these guys like know who's in their tier, because then, it's like, oh, I'm expected to, compete against this guy. Like I wonder that because as a, and I've said this, I think I was a fan of the sport almost to a fault as a pro rider, that I knew too much about these guys. I was still too much fans of these guys. I knew what was all, I followed them. I watched all the videos, whatever. So I wonder if I would know who was in my tier. Right.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it would be a little bit more motivation. Like there were certain guys that I wanted to beat more than other guys. And I was not thinking about how tired I was. I was going to go beat that guy. And I had certain guys that it felt like I could get them at the end of every moto. Like I just could, because I pushed myself to do it. Yeah. And I wonder if this plays into any of that. We got a couple riders, Bryce Ford, some of these guys that are playing with us. And I wonder if it's even a thought for any of these guys, because we got guys like Casey Greek, and I'm sure there's going to be more people that do it, that, we hear stories of them going up to the riders saying, hey, I got you on my fantasy team today, so you better perform.
Better show up.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that's a cool thought. And I don't even mean it in a pressure way. It's almost like a good pressure. Like, hey, if it was me and I know I'm stacked up against rider A, B, and C, hey, I want to beat them guys. So I'm the top, it's like I'm winning my tier. I mean, that's how when I was trying to explain how this game was going to work, it's like, hey, they're winning the race of tier 3, or they're winning the race of tier 4, whatever. So I feel like, it's almost
celebrity status.
Like I wonder. It's almost like I wonder.
Celebrity status. They're like, I don't want to be a C-lister. I'm better than that. It's going to fire him up,
Well, and Gloop did say that to us. He said to me, he's like, how many guys did you piss off by, putting them in, a certain tier or whatever? But I don't know. I feel like it's all, I don't want to say obvious, but I mean, they're all like, those are the guys they race against. Like those are the guys that they compete against. Yep. And like I said, some of them, it's kind of a logic thing. It's like, okay, I can't put them in this tier because every single person would pick them if they're in such and such a tier. So,
I've put you somewhere else.
Right. And I've said before, if some guys kind of start to distance each other or distance themselves from the other guys, we'll add a tier. We have that ability. We'll have 5 tiers. Like, no big deal. So, going to be really fun. I just wonder what it's like to be a rider. And then if you know about the game, how that plays into things, but, so good picks there. I feel like it's going to be really exciting. I want to touch on the amateur thing before we get out of here. What about the amateurs? Like, what amateur riders are you most excited to see as we kick off the 2021 season? I know you've spent some time at, racetracks and down south and stuff already this season. So I'm just wondering, what guys are you most excited to see?
Yeah, the amateur side of things is, I guess, where I spend a lot of my time in watching riders.
Which is why I asked.
Yeah, well, and this year going to be a little different, and chasing the pros, stuff like that. But with the women's MX, now we've got them on the same day as the pros. I definitely, my wild card pick, and I'm gonna say it right now. I'll go on a limb. Niam Shaw takes the season win. I think she's got
takes the championship.
Yes.
Oh wow.
I will be bold. It's going to be a battle. We know Andrea can ride. I just think that this year, Niam's putting in a little extra. I think she wants it a little bad, a little more.
Okay.
So I think that's going to be, the women's side.
Okay.
Pro.
I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with you there, but
okay.
So and I'll say, wasn't many years ago, and it looked like on the 250s and stuff, looked like Shaw was gonna smoke everybody. Like I would have said she was gonna walk the women's class for as long as she raced. That's the way it looked. And Andrea's just been on a tear, man. Andrea's has been so good. And I have close connections with her. We heard about that on some of the previous episodes and stuff, but Andrea gets the three-peat. She does.
Yeah. I think she'll get 3. I don't think this year. I think
I'm
just
okay.
I'm going on.
You also just like to be different, Josh. You
absolutely.
like to throw out the hot takes out there.
Absolutely.
I like it. You gotta love it.
Yeah. You've got Pro-Am, Pro Sport, Pro Stock, whichever. I think that class is going to be fun to watch. You got Blair Miller that's jumping out of the 450 classes, and that's going to be his 2 classes for the year. He's been putting in a lot of work. He's been down south. He's been spending time at Deckers, training with Chad Reed. He's definitely cross-training, seeing him put in some work locally under the radar. I definitely think that's going to be one to watch. Unfortunately, due to recent injury, Cale Deal broke his femur. He's going to be out for a while. I think he was going to be one to watch. The 450A class is going to be stacked. I'm going to call that a mini pro section. The riders that are in there, you got JJ, Launderville, Dane, Corey Edwards, Shimon, Sturk. That's going to be a solid 450 class. College is pretty much the same class there. Mm-hmm. Well, that's going to be a fun one to watch. Always a threat, Mason Jackson. He spent time down at Deckers. He's looking fast. It's just going to be, there's going to be a lot. And I think the other side of things you've got on the minis, Gloop just shared a video of Davin Sloniker. That little guy from last year to this year is ripping. So it's not just the big bikes in the amateur side. Mm-hmm. The little guys are fun to watch, and I think they put in, the seat time and enjoy it. So mm-hmm. Amateur side is going to be fun to watch, both from all the way from the A 450A all the way down to the 90s to the 50s.
Mm-hmm. See, I always think that the beginning of the season is so fun to track, so fun to watch, because there's always guys that come out of nowhere and start mixing it up with guys that you didn't think that they would mix it up with. I've been that guy before. That's always fun for me to see. Yep. Guys that come out of nowhere, put their name in the mix. I like that. And then it's always cool to, because nobody, you have an idea on some of the guys, but we don't know. You go to the first race not knowing where everybody is going to sign up, what classes they're going to run, all these things. I feel like that's always cool to see where everybody's going to shake out. Cause there's riders, whether it's going from, 250s to 450s or B to A, or, whatever, from A to the Pro-Ams. There's guys that take serious steps forward. I don't mean in signing up for a different class. I mean, with their riding, they take major leaps forward, major improvements. That's always fun to see for me. I feel like there's never, the first race always has such a just a different feel, an interesting feel, because you don't know where everybody's going to fit in. Yeah. And that's always fun to see. If you're going to ask me one rider, I'm excited to see, obviously Zach Decker in Pro-Am and Pro Stock is going to be someone to watch. I'm not breaking any news there. But other than that, it's kind of like talk to me after this race, after we
Yeah.
see who's signing up where, after we see some of the battles we could see all summer
Yep.
long, after we see, some of the, improvements riders made, switches they made, all these things. It's like, talk to me after that. And then we're going to know what classes, because we all got classes that we want to watch every weekend. After this race, we'll kind of know more than we know going in. So it's like, I'll get back to you after that.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, like Rodney said, the name that's most fun to say in ATV motocross in the amateur side, and you can probably guess what it is, but I think the sleeper is going to be Wyndham Spooner. I don't know what it is, but I have a feeling he's going to come out firing. He's moving up a class. I just think
he'd be in B class now.
What's that?
B class now, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because he was in C class. He was in C class last year.
Yep. So I think he's going to go through, and if he has a growth spurt as far as advancement in his riding, he's going to shake things up in B class. So it'll be fun to watch that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Like I said, it's always fun to see how everything shakes out at the first round. I think, that's on the horizon for us. It's going to be really exciting, really fun to see. Josh, we didn't get to the Virginia thing, the new possible, we know you got something going on. We haven't touched on it yet. You didn't fill us in yet. What can you tell us about what's more going on in your personal life? Obviously you live, from Michigan. There's some different stuff going on. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, I am no longer a Michigan resident. My home track. I was an hour and a half north of there, small town Wayland. I am now relocated down to Richmond, Virginia area. And if anybody knows Richmond area, just south of there, there's a small drag racing facility, Virginia Motorsports Park. And they also have a motocross track. 2000, I think it was 2007.
They had a WPSA national there.
Yes. And Kawasaki.
Jeffrey Rastrelli passed me on the last lap. It's a terrible memory for me.
Well, I got news for you. You may be able to get yourself back there.
I loved that track at the time.
I am working right now with Tyler Crossno. He's a facility vice president there. And I've spent the last 3 weeks working on the facility. We've got some track prep planned for this weekend to turn some dirt and work on things. We don't know exactly the opening date, but we're looking at doing a soft ride with a few invite only. And then from that date, we'll revisit after Texas what we plan to do for opening. But it's going to give another facility option for riders in the area that's going to not only allow quads, because there's not many in the area that do, but we're also going to have mini, it'll be bikes, but also mini bikes, mini quads, everything. But
awesome.
We've got a lot of work to do yet. And if you follow my page, we'll be releasing more info on that as it becomes available.
Awesome. So this is like a full-time position for you at this point. Like this is an opportunity for you to help them out, put them on the map, get things right, and make it a place that people want to go. This is what you're working on now.
Yeah, absolutely. I come down here in February just as a vacation because sports in Michigan weren't as active.
Sure.
Come down as a vacation, and I stopped in just to chat with them. And I was talking with the District 13 Vice President, Carolyn Edwards, and she was like, "Oh, yeah, there's a few tracks down here." And I went over and I checked it out, and I knew Tyler through drag racing and talked about it and kind of back and forth some ideas. And once I found out that they had a cross country loop as well as the MX track, I'm a cross country rider myself. That's what I enjoy doing.
Okay.
I thought, you know what? I think this is going to be an opportunity. I thought about it while I was at Daytona. I came back, sat down in the office and looked at Tyler, and I said, let's do it. So I drove back home, packed the car, and came back, and here I am. So
Awesome. That's Great to hear. Obviously, awesome opportunity for you. It sounds like good for the track to have you in their corner. And yeah, I mean, when I saw something that made me think Virginia Motorsports Park. So I already knew. I didn't know what the extent of all this was, but I knew. I was like, okay, I've been there. I know at the time it was sick. It was cool.
Yep.
Like I said, I mean, WPSA that season or two there was just as prestigious as ATV Nationals, if not a little more prestigious. So they had a lot of big stuff going on there at the time. And yeah, it'd be exciting to put the place on the map because we saw the potential. So before we got out of here, I wanted you to be able to kind of talk about what you had going on there. Hopefully we can get some more quads over there and do some riding and that'd be a lot of fun. So, what about anything? Go ahead.
It's nice because it's right on the way, for a lot of people coming out of the Northeast and Ohio area, or even from Michigan for that fact, if they're coming down 85, 95, the track's in between both of them. So you can, come down early and, it just shoot a message, whatever. Hey, here, we're going to be open. Everything we posted, get some seat time, make a few adjustments, and hey, we're right here. So
that's perfect.
Interesting.
That's perfect. Yeah. I wish it was on my way, but Virginia is about as far out of the way when you come from Wisconsin.
You should move down this way.
There is no good way to get there. So, but I would love to make a trip there to check it out. I mean, it would bring back some good memories. Yeah, that was a cool place in its day. Okay, man, unless you have anything else that you want to touch on before we go, we're going to get you out of here on that.
One other question for you. And we didn't talk about this beforehand.
Okay.
What are the odds of seeing Cody Jansen as a lineup pick in the fantasy for 2021?
Man, I would like to. I did, like I said, I mean, I do feel like there's a ton of stuff on my plate. I mean, I write race reports for some of these guys in the game. The podcast thing has become so much bigger than I ever thought it would be as far as how much time and effort we put into it. I mean, there was years there after because I last raced the Pro Class in 2017. 18, I was 100% for sure I was going to jump to the Pro Class at some point, if not, because how it all went down is I didn't go anywhere at the beginning of the season and train. So I started racing 25 plus, felt like it would be good. Well, then Nick Mosier was in there, former pro, guy that I had raced with for forever. And we ended up battling. And so then it was like, okay, I'm not going to, I'll just stay in the class because we're battling. So like, why would I move up? Right. We were yarding everybody else, but it was still a good battle. So then the next year I'm like, dang, well, that championship got away from me. Now I want to win the championship. So that's the year I battled with Mike. And we're kind of distancing ourselves there. I then had some misfortune and it was like, got in a position where I needed to win all the races at the end of the year to win the championship, which I did and won that championship by 1 point over Mike. Then last year was kind of like, well, it'd be cool to repeat, Yep. So that was the situation we're in. So, yeah, I would like to race some different stuff this year. I don't think I'm going to just line up and do the same thing again and try to three-peat 25 plus. That's not my plan at this point. I do want to race some different stuff. If it's the Pro Class, I don't know. I mean,
Red Bud or Sunset.
Well, I would love to. Full disclosure, I rode once since Three Palms last year. I raced at Three Palms. I rode like one weekend after that, maybe like the weekend after that at Walnut, Illinois, which actually at Sunset Ridge, which was actually before south of the border, because I remember talking to Laundervilles that weekend. Yep. And they filled me in on what all had to happen for JJ to clinch his championship. So yeah, it was actually, so I haven't ridden since before the last, I've ridden my dirt bike, but I haven't ridden my quad since before, since before south of the border last year. So yeah, I mean, need to get my stuff in order. I would love to throw my hat in the ring. I'd love to be in the game. I was already telling you, like, I'd love to know who I wanted to beat to be the top guy. And it was funny because, you know, the rules, like, I always wanted to race Pro-Am and 25 plus, but the rules didn't allow it. Like, that's why I didn't do it.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I was at with that. I don't know. Yeah. So, I mean, I would love to, I'm going to race some different stuff. I'm not going to say, cause 2 years ago I would have said, oh yeah, I'm going back to the pro class for sure. I mean, that was my plan. If nothing else, I was going to do it at Ironman in 2019 at the end of the season. Then Digging Deep's becoming a big deal, and I need to go cover it as Digging Deep, right? Like, that's literally what happened.
Yep.
Digging Deep is a big enough deal now that I don't foresee myself. I mean, these kids are fast, right? Like, but then again, I want to
see where you stack up.
Well, I look and I'm like, well, I'm as fast as Michael Allred. Like, I can go Mike's speed. So, you know, like, I'm like, man, I don't know, maybe I should just do it. So I don't know. We'll see. It is going to be fun. I just can't wait to get back to the races. I can't wait to go do some racing. The longer you're away from it, you always get this feeling in the off season or whatever, after you've been down for a while, but you always want to you just want to get back out there. Like, I miss the races so much. I miss those feelings you get at the racetrack. So glad that the season is kind of, you know, it's creeping up on us. It's right around the corner, and just so excited to get back to the racetrack. It's going to be exciting. I need to get my racing program in line. Like, I feel like I've spent so much time on Digging Deep stuff and fantasy and all this stuff that my own stuff has been lagging a little bit. I was just telling Brooke today that it's like, this is a foreign feeling for me. Like, for the last decade, my racing, not last year, I guess, but my racing had been, you know, the number one priority for what I do, that in school, I guess. And, yeah, now it's like Digging Deep is front and center, and the rest of everything just kind of falls in line. So, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe at the end of the year. I don't know. I'm not going to say yes. I guess I'm not going to say no either.
Right. Yeah.
But it'll be a lot of fun. Like I said, seems like I do so much stuff for this pro class now. Obviously we got the game, obviously we got, you know, Digging Deep stuff and talking about it and all these things. And then, like I said, do some writing for, you know, some of these teams and riders and stuff too. So I'm involved in the pro class, really involved, Josh,
right.
Really involved, just not on the track.
Yeah. No, I hear that.
But you know how it is. But yeah, man, if you don't have anything else, this has been a really, really fun conversation. I love these conversations like this. It gets the juices flowing. I say it, I think it's cliche, but it is actually true at the same time, that the next best thing to going out there and racing is talking about it like this. And think I come away from these conversations being way more excited for the races than I was previously. So I hope that the listeners feel the same way.
Yeah, most definitely. I think they're in for a treat at Texas, and I'm hoping there's some shakeups, but I'm hoping I can accumulate some points and get somewhere on the total.
yeah, it should be really fun. It's fun for people to have to put their money where their mouth is, right? Like, you get to see where people actually stack up in their you know, predicting abilities or whatever. But sometimes, like we saw at Daytona, you know, some things happen, and then the whole board changes. Like, as soon as Joel has a problem, everything changes in the entire game. So it'll be really exciting. But pal, I can't thank you enough, obviously, for your time, again, for your input and everything that went into this. Really appreciate your passion. Again, like, we had tons of people that wanted us to get you back on. So super exciting, super glad to do that. And just wanted to thank you again and wish you safe travels as you go to Texas and all the stuff above. Congratulate you on all the great stuff you have going on in your personal life, from the series stuff to the racetrack stuff there in Virginia and everything in between. And just want to thank you, congratulate you, wish you well, and tell you we'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Cody. We'll see you in a couple days in Texas.
Awesome. Thanks, pal. That's PH3 Photos Josh Cline, brought to you by Yamaha and their industry-leading YFZ 450R. Thanks again, pal. See you soon.
See you later.
Welcome to the team, two-time champ Joel Hetrick, who dropped the biggest news of the offseason when he announced his move to CST Tires. The CST takeover has been gaining momentum over the past several seasons, and now Joel Hetrick and his Phoenix Racing teammate Jeffrey Rastrelli are the most recent additions. The Palms MXR tire has helped lead riders like Thomas Brown to race wins and 3 consecutive Quad Cross of Nations titles, Nick Janusa to the Pro Class podium, myself, Cody Jansen, as I rode my Palms MXR fronts and white label soft compound rears to back-to-back national championships in the Junior 25 Plus class, and the most recent additions have us thinking a Pro Class national championship is on the horizon for CST tires. The Palms MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offers the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. Visit shop.csttires.com to join the CST takeover today, or prepare to be beat by someone who did. Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Nick Janusa, myself, and so many others are believers in CST Tires. Are you? CST Tires, where passion meets the ground. You already know we're Team Blue Crew here at the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. Whether it's second all-time winningest, 7-time and reigning ATVMX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, or 6-time and current XC1 Pro ATV GNCC National Champion Walker Fowler, it's clear the podium-proven Yamaha YFC 450R is the winning choice of sport ATVs. This unprecedented success for the YFC 450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the undeniable fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has created a Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Better yet, Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program is back and even stronger for 2021, meaning Yamaha riders are about to cash in on higher payouts and more prize opportunities, including a chance to win a brand new YFC 450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com, follow them on social media at Yamaha Outdoors, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. For over 150 years, Valvoline has led the charge by being dedicated to constant improvement and innovation across all disciplines of racing. Valvoline has sponsored some of the greatest names in motorsports, and for the better part of a decade, I've been fortunate enough to be part of the historically great Team Valvoline. From my commuting vehicles to small engines, race quads, and everything in between, I trust nothing but Valvoline in all of my equipment. I've experienced increased function and durability, as well as a longer life expectancy thanks to Valvoline's array of products and lubricants. Since 1866, Valvoline has been focused on bettering your experience, whether on road, on track, and everywhere in between. Upgrade to Valvoline today and check them out at valvoline.com. SSI Decals is a name synonymous with ATV racing, synonymous with big-time success, and absolutely synonymous with the best-looking decals around. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. With what started as just making numbers and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the company quickly took off, and today you couldn't imagine ATV motocross without SSI decals. The graphics maker and designer now supports all the top teams in ATV motocross, as well as teams and riders racing GNCC, Work Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and, oh yeah, 6-time NHRA World Champion Clay Milliken. No project is too big or too small for SSI decals, making your identity stick with championship-level graphics. Head over to SSIDecals.com today and then maybe call the doctor because things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast is brought to you in part by DID and their range of championship-winning chains. Powered by technology, DID chains are designed to give you the greatest strength-to-weight ratio, making them the optimal chain for racing and giving you a championship-level edge. DID has been driving championship-winning race programs since 1933, chosen by champions such as Chad Wienen, Joel Hetrick, and myself, Cody Jansen. Champion above the rest is DID's 520 ATV2 chain, with those same design principles and materials being used throughout their entire line of products, including their on-road category as well. Pick up a DID chain today at your local dealer or a reputable online e-tailer. DID. What drives you?
We are proud to be partnered with Numira Technologies. Since 2001, Numira has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market, covering more applications than anyone else in the industry. Numira's advanced piston technology uses a NASA exclusive aluminum alloy that helps to reduce expansion rates, that allows for tighter tolerances and leads to higher overall engine performance for your machine. For more information about Namura's wide offerings of pistons, rings, gaskets, and industry-leading top-end repair kits, visit your local dealer or online at www.namura.com. Namura Technologies, pistons with an attitude. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV Components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals like rods and cylinders, all the way down to suspension parts and bearing kits, Bronco is your hard part source for whatever you need for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world. Visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com. Forworks Carbon's innovative lightweight products include top-notch seat covers, carbon fiber, and plastic hoods, gas tank covers, exhaust shields, shock guards, and much more. Whether you have an ATV, UTV, or snowmobile, Forworks has the goodies that will improve your ride and make you salivate. We trust Forworks for increased function and a sexier look, and you should too. Forworks Carbon, always working hard to bring high-quality and innovative parts to the market. Check them out today at fwcarbon.com.
All right, guys, this next guest is someone many of us, including myself, had super high hopes for this season. But we know by now he was put in a pretty difficult position to make a difficult decision for the 2021 season. So here to talk about all that and more, brought to you by Blenders Eyewear. Use discount code DiggingDeep20 at blenderseyewear.com for 20% off the world's coolest and most affordable eyewear. Say hello to Mr. Alan Myers. What's up, my man? Thanks for fitting us into your schedule here.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
So full disclosure, I wanted to talk to you around, the time of Daytona, and you had just announced that you were going to be sitting out the 2021 season for some personal reasons. But honestly, I thought it may have been, a little too raw, a little too emotional to really talk about at that time. And you had also sat down with Rip It Up Films, and I assumed that everybody would have saw that, that video there, but we were still getting messages of people asking about your absence at Daytona. So kind of just wanted to bring you on, kind of cover that topic, cover some other stuff, talk about some current racing, some happier thoughts as well. So first of all, what can you tell us about that decision to sit out this season? I have to assume that was a difficult one. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough decision for me. Like you said, like you can see the emotion in my face in that video that Rip It Up did. And actually, I wasn't even going to do that video. I was just going to, leave it at the post I made on my social media and, leave it at that. But, a bunch of rumors started and, people were calling me upset, thinking I was, mad at them. So I was like, all right, I need to clear the air, let everyone know what's going on. But yeah, so basically, I was down here training and I knew this year was going to be tough to get by as far as funding. And so about halfway through my training, or maybe not halfway, probably a month, maybe 2 months into my training, I got a call and they said that I wouldn't be able to receive my funding anymore. And, at first I was like really tore up about it. I pretty much right after the call, I, started cleaning everything and loading up the trailer and, I was ready to go home and, finish up school and go to work. Mm-hmm. And, I thought about it and, I kind of asked myself, is this really what I want to do? Do I want to just, give up on it like that? Or do I want to, try to make an effort to keep on doing this? And that's what I did. So I started calling around and, kind of trying to get some help and things to get a lot of help really fast. I didn't really realize, I knew I was surrounded by really good people, but I didn't really realize, the people around me cared about me racing that much. And that really opened my eyes to a lot of things and kind of motivated me a lot more to, push to do it. So, yeah, so I started getting funding. I got funding really fast and, it started looking great. I was really excited. I was in the best shape of my life. I'm still in really good shape. I've still been training. Mm-hmm. My riding was, just where I left off at the end of the year last year. I was super confident and it just, between keeping my bikes together and just, stupid little things happening, a couple $100 here, a couple thousand here, it was just like, man. And, it just got really tough on me. I had a lot on my plate that I wasn't really ready for, I guess. I didn't plan on it. So it was a lot of weight on my shoulders. And, I started kind of thinking about it more level-headedly, I guess. I figured if, I don't know, how do I word this? I kind of took it as a business perspective. Do I just try to make it this year and just barely get by, with all the stress and everything like that? Or do I take a year off and get everything ready and, come out swinging?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I felt like that was the best case scenario in the longevity case of it. But so that's.
I was going to say, I mean, I feel like it's a really honorable decision, honestly, to know, especially like, even if for your sponsors and everything else, like to know that you didn't want to go half-ass it, like, I think it's a really honorable thing. So to think that you want to get all your ducks in a row so you can be the best version of yourself in 2022, man, I feel like I can tell like how difficult of a decision it must have been, but I also give you a ton of credit because it's hard to go away from what so what is, I mean, we all do it. Like you do just enough to get, not just that you don't do just enough to get by, but you scrape your pennies together and you get by and you go racing and you get by that way. But it's difficult to do it in the pro class that way. So it's impossible to compete in the pro class that way. So to want to become, or put yourself in a position where you can have the best program you can have and roll that out for next season. It sucks for us, for fans. I mean, we want to see you out there, but it also is exciting to know that, hey, you're going to come out next year, like ready to rip. And you're also, because I remember, I don't know if it was conversations we had on here or conversations you and I had somewhere else or whatever, but the grind like gets to people, like it gets to all of us, like the races running together and spending all this money, just like you said, it adds up so fast. The grind happens and it starts to suck some of the fun out of it. Well, think about where you're going to be at the beginning of next year. You're going to be more in love with it and more ready to go racing probably than ever before.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was a huge part of it. I felt like if I kept doing what I was doing and struggling and, just trying to make it by, I felt like by the end of the season, I would just be like, you know what, forget about racing. I'm not having any more fun, and that's that. And, I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity that the Deckers have given me. I get to, stay here and train and work out with Zach and, help him out. And I'll be at all the races. So like, I pretty much got the dream job right now. And I'm, just super grateful for that. And I think that's really, I think at the end of the day, it was best case scenario, And I love that we're having this conversation because it's got a different feel than what the last one did. And that's why, like I said, I mean, with the Rip It Up Films video, it's awesome that you did it because people were asking so many questions and wondering why. But now I love to see that it's like you're turning a corner a little bit and it's more, okay, like it's optimistic, like, hey, like, this is for the better, and I think that this is just awesome vibes. It feels like you're in a good spot. So I wanted to ask you, and I know you're at Deckers now. I was going to ask you what was filling your time now, because I was reading between the lines. I knew you were at Deckers. It seems like maybe you're helping out down there or kind of filling some voids for those guys. So tell me what's keeping you busy right now. Yeah, so I've been super busy doing riding schools and things like that. For the past 2-3 weeks, I've had a riding school, if not every day, every other day, awesome. Just super busy. And on top of that, I've been helping Zach out a lot, with his motos and, working out off the track stuff. And, that seems to be really helping him out a lot.
Okay.
And helping me out too, it kind of keeps me into it, keeps me riding, keeps me training in shape. So
I was going to say, I mean, too, like if you take a year off, it's different than you taking a year off and being like away from the races. Well, you're going to be at the races, you're at a racetrack, you're with fast guys, you're riding with them, you're still training. Like I don't think you're really going to miss a beat,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly how I feel. I'm not like, super into it like I was if I was racing. I'm not worried about riding every single day.
Right.
I'm just get laps in and have fun with it. Last time I did an actual moto was probably 4 or 5 days ago, which for me, coming into the second round, that would never happen. I'd be
obviously
motoing almost every day,
Right.
Yeah, I've just been really enjoying it. I've had a lot of fun, and honestly, like, I'm really grateful that everything's kind of happened. Like, I've never had to really struggle before, so to be able to do that and be able to learn from it and kind of have that knowledge is, I'm definitely grateful for that. At the end of the day, it was a bad situation, but I took the best out of it and I learned from it. So
yep. No, of course. I think that for everybody, it happens at a different time where I mean, like, learning the worth of a dollar isn't really what I'm talking about, but like how hard it is to like scrape together all this effort. And when you're younger, it's hard to imagine because you're not the one working for it. Like, even if you see your parents, like, you're the same way. Like, you saw your parents working their tails off to give you everything that the opportunities you had. Like, it was the same thing for me when I was young, but it's still different when you're the one like trying to put it together. Right. So, I feel like when you do learn that, you're exactly right. Like, you think of it as a business. So why invest X amount now when you know that you're not going to get it on the backside, when you can save all that up, put it all into next year. And man, I've said this before, but the third year of a pro rider's career is often the one where they take the biggest step forward. That's why we had such high hopes for you this year. I'm hoping that we can just pause that and hopefully pick up next year where you take that big leap forward. I mean, that's really what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. I mean, I still feel super confident in my riding, I feel like if I did, get to race a pro race this year, I wouldn't be, worried about finishing bad,
Right.
I've always kind of been the type of rider, like, you place however, the effort you're going to put into it. You might have some mistakes, but at the end of the day, we train all this time to work on not making mistakes. So, it shouldn't happen.
Absolutely.
But like I said, I still feel super confident in my riding and my fitness and everything like that. And
we're looking forward to seeing you, back at the races, obviously, whenever that happens, looking like maybe 2022, but you were surely going to be somebody to, a favorite to claim some podiums this summer. And we're hoping that can just happen next summer instead. So how about Zach Decker? I mean, you're seeing it firsthand. What do you expect out of him this summer? I think he's going to be gnarly.
Yeah. I expect big things out of him. He's been really stepping it up, and I've been proud of him, really. It's not I don't know if you remember the race. I was just actually, messing with him earlier about it at Muddy Creek last year.
Okay.
Where I think he pulled the whole shot, made a mistake, and, jumped back. And then, he was just making crazy mistakes. And
I remember this.
That was like, that was Zach Decker, wild rider, and, now it's like a completely different Zach. He's controlled, he's smooth, he can, run almost the identical lap times every single lap, and they're fast lap times, So
Sure.
I've been super proud of him, how hard he's been working and everything like that.
Well, I feel like he's one of the guys that I think everybody's so excited to see. I mean, he was, battling it out with Max Lindquist last year, and then to, where those kids were at 16 or whatever is amazing. So to think that he's got another year of maturity, just being older in general, it's going to be really exciting. He's one of the guys that I think everybody's going to be focusing on. And as we talk about some other current racing stuff, overall, what did you think about the racing at the season opener? I mean, Chad wins again. Janusa looks like a whole nother rider. I feel like, he looked like he took a step forward. Wesley Wolf, he had been down by you guys down there. He earned his first podium of his career, just like you did a year ago. What stood out about a crazy day of racing there at Daytona to kick off the 2021 season? What was some of your biggest takeaways of that?
Yeah. So I don't know if, I haven't actually watched a pro race in, 3 years.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's
to
wild,
see
isn't
that,
it?
I don't know if that's normal or if Daytona was just absolutely insane. Like, I thought that was the craziest race I've ever watched in my life. It was just, carnage everywhere.
Right.
And yeah, there's definitely some standouts. Honestly, if I had to pick one standout that, really got my attention, it was Max Lindquist. He took on, Brendan Hogue and Wesley Wolf, and who else was he battling with? Maybe no, not Bryce. I think it was Wesley and Hogue, and
Yep.
He really held his own, and I was super stoked to see that.
He's a good kid too. I mean, it's hard to like fourth place in his first race, dude. He looked the part. He looked like he didn't look like a dude going through it for the first time. It's just amazing.
Yeah, he definitely didn't look like he was out of his comfort zone or anything like that. And I'll be honest. I said it a few times. I said, Max is going to be fast, but Max hasn't had that intensity that the pro class has, like they did in, back when I was in Pro-Am. I had, quite a few guys in pro that were running Pro-Am. I had Wesley Wolf, Sam Rowe, just a few of those guys. I forget
Parker and it was and you had like Kazmarek in there at the time and the Mickelson brothers, and so there was like there'd be races with 6 or 7 guys, but they were all gnarly.
So like I was a little bit worried. He hasn't had that in a while. He hasn't had to really battle for a a win, and I felt like that was going to be his struggle in the beginning of the season. I did not expect him to be able to take that type of intensity so well. So I was super stoked to see that. And, Max and his family, they're great people. And I was super happy to see how well he did.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be exciting to see where he goes from here. But yeah, he looks like a guy that can run, be able to run that pace, or with at least with that group for, for the foreseeable future going forward. So that starting point is amazing. Okay. So Daytona 2020, you win your heat race, and then you back it up with a podium in the main. I'm sure that's a day that you're going to never forget. I'm sure you think about it all the time. First podium of your professional career there. So Nick Janusa and Wesley Wolf both had, very similar openers to what you did last year. So I was curious to kind of hear your give us a glimpse into your mind, because that's going to be very similar to what those guys are going to experience here going forward after such a good performance at the opener. Does a rider after that, did you feel pressure because you podiumed and now you have to back it up? Or was it more like a boost of confidence now that you kind of proved it to yourself and everybody else that you could do it?
Yeah, it was definitely more of a boost of confidence. But, after my podium, that's right before COVID hit. And then we had that big break. So, I had all that confidence. I was super excited to get to the next round. And it's like, all right, you got to wait 2 months to ride again. So that was kind of a bummer for me. But, I went into Georgia, super confident. Like, I told myself I was coming out on the box. And, honestly, I felt like after the race, it was probably one of my worst races of the year as far as my riding. And it didn't affect my confidence. I knew I seen what I had to work on, and I took that and I said, all right, if I want to get another podium, this is what I got to do. And I kind of started to, every race after that, I started to pick, one big thing that I felt like I struggled with or somebody else was better at than me. And I worked on that, and, it seemed to help me a lot throughout the year.
Absolutely. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how those guys handle it. But for you, I really felt like you said, I mean, there was that big break, and those are unprecedented times and everything like that. But I do feel like you kind of rode the momentum of that, impressive Daytona performance, because, you earned 3 more top 5 finishes, which, they're not podiums, but top 5 is so gnarly in that class. And, until a few bouts of, misfortune at the very end of the season, which is obviously not the way you wanted to end it, but you were in position to, to finish as a top 5 pro, which is incredible. You were a favorite to win our Digging Deep Most Improved Pro Award. All of that went down at the very end of the season, like in the last 3 motos or whatever. which stunk. But I have to feel like, I know it ended on a sour note, but as a whole, you were riding incredibly. And that's, that's really why, everybody was so high on you coming into this season, is because it was the whole year last year that you were strong. It wasn't just the beginning, and you were strong at the end. You were running up front at the very end. It just misfortune happened, and the box score didn't show how well you were actually riding.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually at the banquet, Rodney asked me, what was your favorite race? And he said, oh, I bet you I can, guess Daytona.
Sure.
And I was like, actually my favorite race, my most memorable race, was the race that I got dead last in both motos. That's at south of the border, first moto, I was in 4th place with a half lap to go and motor let go, nobody's fault. It just happened. But I felt like I was riding great. I felt like I was at, the highest I've ever been as far as my riding level. Second moto, we don't have a spare motor. So we pull the motor out of my practice bike. It's got a ton of hours on it, throw it in the race bike, and, just cross my fingers that this thing makes it. And, I was riding great again. I made a pass on, I believe I passed Thomas and Jeffrey in the same section, but I made a mistake, not too far after that and got passed back. But, I felt like I was there. Like I felt like my speed was there, even though I was pretty far underpowered. I felt like I was, there. And that actually got me excited to, get back training. But yeah, so towards the end of that moto, I could just feel the motor start to lose power. And it was just that triple in the middle. It was, the bike was losing power every lap. I tasted just a little bit more every lap. And just that one lap, I came up just in the perfect spot, and it, seat bounced me off. And I don't know if you've seen the pictures of my helmet, but it split my helmet completely in two. But yeah, but that was my most memorable race for sure. I felt like my riding was definitely at a high.
What a heartbreaker, because I'm thinking, how does that happen in 2 motos where you're running up front? And I think it was like the best you rode all year. And then to find out that you're on a practice bike in the second moto, that's incredible. But that's, like I said, that's why we were so high on you. So like I said, I'm hoping that we can just take all of that, and you're still training. Like you're not grinding, but you're still training. You're still on the bike. You're still, going after it. And I feel like, when, like going back to the races, like I said, you're just going to be rejuvenated, and I'm hoping that turns into a huge year next year for you. And knowing that, you're shooting for this 2022 return, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people obviously behind you, and I'm sure that your whole support group is going to stay there for you. I feel like just all that in general is going to be going to come out well for you. And obviously we're wishing you the best. I want to talk about one last person, your buddy Logan Stanfield. And I've been saying this for a few seasons now, that you two are so similar. I feel like he's basically following directly in your footsteps. Like he's, just 1 year behind in the progression, but you two remind me of each other so much. So what do you think we're going to see out of Logan this season? Because I feel like he could be primed for a season very similar to yours last year.
Yeah. I expect big things out of him too. He's got, I wouldn't say he's got, crazy speed, same with me. I wouldn't say I have crazy speed, but he can hit the same lap time every single lap without a single mistake. And he's just super smooth. And, I've been really happy with what I've been seeing him at Deckers. And, he's got a lot of confidence too. He's got a lot of people behind him. And, I think I'll see some top 5s, hopefully a podium. I'd love to see that, but
me too.
Yeah, I expect big things out of him.
Yeah, I'm hoping, like I said, I'm hoping that we could see a season like you had last year, breaking into some more top 5s and stuff like that for Logan. I think that would be really cool to see. He's going to be a hot pick for Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy at 3 Palms. He's my tier 3 pick for sure. I really looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing him flourish, and he's just such a good kid. I love seeing that kid do well. So well, Alan, I give you a bunch of credit for making the difficult decision, and obviously being so upbeat about it. difficult decision, but one that felt like it was right for your family, for your racing, for everybody involved there. So I give you a ton of credit for that. And just to hear the positivity in your voice, makes me feel good coming away from this conversation. And like I said, I look forward to seeing you back at the races and at the front of the pack sometime soon. I think, like I said, like I've been saying, I think it's going to make it that much sweeter than it would have been if it happened this year.
Exactly. Yep.
So, pumped to get you on, pumped to hear about the decision, the update on what you got going on down there at Deckers, and chat about the current racing as well. So just wanted to thank you for joining us and giving us a little glimpse into what you got going on. And man, if you're going to be at the races and watching this stuff go down, you want to talk about racing, you're always welcome here, because the next best thing to racing and being on the track is at least being able to talk about it.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, congrats on everything. And again, I give you a bunch of credit for having a smile on your face and looking at the glass half full kind of perspective. That's always my way of doing things too. So things could always be worse, and your perspective is so much. So to have see a smile on your face and everything like that makes me happy. So just want to wish you luck, and we'll see you soon. And just want to thank you again for joining us here.
I appreciate that. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, you're always welcome here, pal. That's Alan Myers, brought to you by Blenders Eyewear. Use code DiggingDeep20 at blenderseyewear.com. Thanks again, buddy. We'll see you soon. And like I said, you're always welcome here to talk about some more ATV motocross.
Thank you.
Thanks to our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped is the global leader in below-the-waist grooming and an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. To ensure that you have the best tools for your family jewels, visit manscaped.com and use code DiggingDeep20 for 20% off and free international shipping. Manscaped is here to provide you with the best tools for your grooming experience, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. The Lawnmower 3.0 electric trimmer is the best hygiene tool for the modern man. Ceramic blade, advanced skincare technology, waterproof capabilities, it's simply the best. And Manscaped's Performance Package is the best buy of 2021. The Performance Package comes with the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Performance Boxer Briefs, a travel bag, deodorant, and soothing aloe toner. If you're listening, you know that good tools are key, so get the best tools for the job today. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com by using code DiggingDeep20. The Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast is also sponsored by DP Brakes, a longtime supporter of ATV Racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology. DP has been dominating the ATV world for decades, supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. 2021's impressive lineup includes Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli of the Phoenix Racing Team, myself, Cody Jansen, and my back-to-back national championships, Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Janusa, Wesley Wolf, and many more, including all of the top 14 GNCC Series pros, led by the champ Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, and Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer, products that ultimately help place them on the top of the podium. Available at www.dp-brakes.com, purchase at your local dealer, or message the show for their contact info today. What are you waiting for? Join the best ATV riders in the world on DP Brakes. 15 years into the brand's existence, Factory 43 is back with us and continuing to make huge waves in the ATV world. For the second consecutive season, Factory 43 is the official aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing ATV team, providing their state-of-the-art Evo Nerf bars, MX-style front bumpers, and grab bars for some of the fastest riders on the planet. If you're in the market to upgrade your Nerf bars, bumpers, or grab bars, head over to factory43atv.com to see their full line of products available for all makes and models. Want to be just like Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli, riding with Factory 43's industry-leading products? Head over to factory43atv.com today. We are proud to be partnered with Gripped Gloves. Gripped is an ATV rider-owned and operated brand with the rider in mind and the goal of keeping costs affordable. The Michigan-based family operation recognizes riders' desire to showcase their identity. Owner David Payne's love for eccentric colorways and crazy patterns shows in his product, something not often found in the work of big manufacturers. Here to push stereotypes and limitations, Grip's drive is to produce a glove with cool colors and designs that won't break the bank. With comfort and quality as key motivators, the family affair is constantly working on the next more innovative and improved glove. Get a grip on life, join the Gripped movement, because no one wants a bland glove. Check them out today at grippedgloves.com, that's GRIPT gloves.com, and use discount code DIGGINGDEEP10 to save at checkout. Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC has been supplying riders with aftermarket components from the industry's top brands for over a decade. With over 80,000 products in stock for your ATVs, UTVs, metric and HD motorcycles, dirt bikes, and snowmobiles, Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC can tend to all your power sports needs, from hard parts to riding gear. Bikes, Trikes, and Quads also offers hard-to-find used parts for your vintage dirt bike, ATV, three-wheeler, or snowmobile. Use discount code ATVMX at www.btqllc.com for 10% off of orders of $100 or more. We're grateful to have Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC digging deep with us. Thank you, BTQ LLC. Just like the sport of ATV motocross as a whole, our Digging Deep community is brought together by the love for racing that we all share. Our sport is compiled of many great people, and leading that charge is the Launderville family at Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. This racing-owned family business is a steel and concrete supplier serving the entire United States. Launderville Steel is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products, headlined by their 4130 chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for ATVs and UTVs, off-road truck racing, late model dirt and pro tractor pulling series, drag racing, and more. Launderville Steel loves their racing just as much as we do, but don't forget about their concrete division as well. With over 25 years of experience, the concrete division can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. Their central Midwest location enables LSC to easily serve customers across the United States. For a quote, additional info, answers to more of your questions, or to talk a little racing, head over to laundervillesteel.com or give them a call today. We are proud to be partnered with yet another racer-owned company. Thank you, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. All right, guys, to conclude this episode, we're joined by an absolute legend, brought to you by Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping on the best products in men's grooming with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. He's a multi-time championship-winning mechanic, multi-time Mechanic of the Year award winner, and wrenched for some of the greatest ATV racers of all time. Say hello to Mr. Paul Turner. What's up, Paul?
Hey, what's going on, big boy?
I can't tell you how stoked I am to have you here on Digging Deep. This is one I've looked forward to for a long time.
Hey, listen, I'm happy that we got in touch with each other, and I'm happy that we can do this for sure.
So, Paul, I'll tell you, being a lifelong diehard fan of ATV racing, your name has always held some serious weight with me. I knew you first, obviously, as the mechanic of Travis Spader. So then, right. fast forward to 2013, 14, 15. I'm a young pro. You're there with Chad Wienen, and standing in the pro riders meetings with you and having exchanged small talk a few times just over the course of the season or two there. I couldn't help but think, holy shit, Paul Turner just spoke to me.
That's too funny.
so now fast forward to where we are now, sitting here. I'm obviously stoked to have you on my podcast and talk a little ATV racing memories, and some of which were in the golden era of ATV racing, which is exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, back in the day with Travis and I mean, that was a heck of a run for me and him. We had a lot of fun doing it all, and he's, I still talk to him, almost every other day. We're still best buds and still talking about the past and, in the future now, and all our kids and what we're doing and stuff. So, and he's doing very well, actually. If everybody wants to know, he's doing very well in his physical therapy, his active physical therapy. Yeah. He's doing well big time.
That's incredible. I mean, it's so funny how something like racing, where, you have this giant percentage of people, right? Like if you're an outsider, you don't understand, but like us, I mean, whether you're still like entrenched in racing or not, like those are your best friends that you've ever had. That's just how it works.
100%. I mean, I still talk to everybody in the circuit, listen, the ATV is family,
For sure.
Everybody helps everybody. And if somebody's mad with somebody, they'll call them a week later and say, hey man, I'm sorry. It's funny,
love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy. Love-hate relationship stuff, and that's what I really loved about ATV racing.
Mhm.
That's why I got into it with Travis, because before that I was doing motorcycles. I was on the motorcycle tour, the pro tour, doing that for a long time. And then I met Travis, and then I got involved in ATVs. I'm like, what the heck is this ATV, man? Dude, come on, it's 4 wheels. This thing's no way. I never thought I would be able to work on one, and now look at me. So now I know everything about them. I can tell you that.
I know it. So yeah, I mean, that's what I knew about your story. And so many, I mean, me included, but so many people would have heard you on Lenny's show on ATV Talk. And I heard some of that stuff about, you getting into ATV racing via, kind of having a dirt bike background, starting as a mechanic, super, super young. I think you said 15 years old.
Yeah.
Which
I started being a mechanic at 15.
Yeah, which is crazy. And then eventually crossing paths with Travis Spader there, and kind of the rest was history. It was like you just kind of got thrust into this thing. You figured out how to work on ATVs just kind of on a whim, figured it out by yourself. Yeah. And it seemed like that so quickly just became like, hey, I'm an ATV person now.
I tell you, Shane Hitt was impressed with me.
I heard
one time I had to put an ATV together. It was in pieces. I was in Mount Morris.
Okay.
And Shane's in the corner. I never met the guy. I didn't met anybody. It's my first time at the races, and I had to put this ATV together. It's like basically in pieces. And Shane's just sitting in the corner on a chair watching me. And I get the whole thing together. And he comes over and he goes, man, I can't believe you put that thing together. I would have put $1,000. You would have got that thing put together. I said, well, I did. So then right there, Shane and I had a really good relationship ever since then. I still try and talk to him at least, twice, 3 times a year, and just to keep up with him and Timmy Farr and God, dude, all the greats back in the day.
See, and I feel like too, when you talk about that era of racing, I mean, all those guys were so gnarly, right? Like you think of them as being, I mean, they're like still like there's so many of them that are the greatest guys, right? All from that era. But there was such like a togetherness, like I feel like everybody was pretty tight back then.
Yeah. Everybody's like, it was, like Keith Little.
Yeah.
We all hung out together. That whole crew was phenomenal. We used to do some things to each other's box fans and trucks and, stickers, and had a lot of fun, that year. But, when Travis and I were winning every race and it was just a lot of fun. It was such a great family, and that's what brought me to it the following year and the following year, and I actually miss going. I'm not going to lie to you, since I stopped going. I don't know, 4 years now, I think. But I still, trust me, I got the itch. I want to come back. So
I believe it. I believe
we'll
it.
See.
So I want to talk about, obviously I know that there was time a little bit before Travis. But then when you got with Travis, you guys were from the same area kind of there, right?
Yeah.
In New Jersey.
An hour away. We're literally an hour from each other.
Okay. And you said that you guys are still friendly to this day. So for my listeners that may be a little younger, because, we have a little bit of everything here with what we do. I want you to kind of fill my listeners in on telling us about Travis Spader a little bit, because sometimes I feel like his name doesn't get mentioned probably enough. When we look back at the greatest racers.
Yeah. I mean, he's won a lot of championships. I think he's almost won every championship. Coming up from the amateur all the way through pro. I think he's one of the only ones that have ever done that, to be honest with you. I think even 40 or like 25 plus and 30 plus too, right?
Yeah, I think, and I thought.
Yeah, like when he was on the Can-Am, I mean, I think he's one of almost all of them.
I know.
Not all.
Right, and I was going to say, I thought he even maybe 140 plus. Like
I think he did too. Yeah, dude, he won so many damn championships, I don't even know anymore.
Hey, and it's cool to see, because he wasn't that far removed from being a pro, and then when a guy comes back and is just there because he loves it, like I love that. So I want you to be able, I mean, because you were so close as a mechanic. I mean,
right.
Your mechanic is your your right-hand man, right? So,
Right.
you know Travis as well as anybody, especially in a racing sense. For the younger people who don't know that era as much as maybe I do, or the older person, I wanted you to be able to speak on Travis a little bit because he was so different than everybody else. I feel like.
Oh, back in the day when we started,
Yep.
we trained so hard. I think he might have actually started the training of how
Okay.
it is today. Like him and I would go testing. I mean, I'm telling you, every day I was testing with him. I would work a normal job. I would come home. I would grab the box fin and I would meet him down at the track, our private track we had.
Okay.
And we would test shocks. We would test motors. We would test everything. I mean, this is 250R days, man. This is two-stroke stuff, you know?
Yeah, right.
This isn't even four-stroke stuff yet.
This is way before the time of training.
Way before four-strokes even came about yet. I mean, we're talking, 2000? Yeah, 2000. And then, 1999? You know, that's when I started in 1998 is when I really started with Travis and testing. And he was an amazing kid. Amazing. His training ethics were like above anybody else's before then. Or even tires, because we got ITP tires before anybody else did. We were the first people to have an ITP tire. I don't think the little guys know that. Like him and I tested those things to where they are today. You know, we actually made the carcasses to, you know, how the tire was made and where the knobbies went. And they asked us all of those questions. And even with like axis shocks and roll design, I mean, we did a lot of testing with all them people too. I mean, with Doug Roll and with I don't know, remember Mike Halleck?
Yeah.
Remember
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, with Mike Halleck and Ricky Strickland. I mean, we would ship overnight shocks every day. I would send a set out. They send me a set here. I test them. No good. These got to go back. Bang, bang. I mean, we kept going back and forth. It was insane.
So do you credit some of this maybe to how intelligent he was?
Because, he's Travis.
Yeah.
He's the smartest kid I have ever met.
Well,
period.
because knowing, I mean, when people know what he does, right? Physical therapy and all those things, like you need to be intelligent to do it. So I feel like you need somebody that's at that IQ level or whatever to be able to test stuff and see beyond like what I'm doing right now. Hey, if I put all this time in right now, like just to try to put the listener into a thinking that like, this isn't what people did. They didn't go to the practice track and test this and this.
Oh, no, not
put their motos in. Like that wasn't the era then.
I mean, Timmy did, I think, a little bit. Shane Hitt never did really. I mean, he probably did a little bit, but not like, I mean, you gotta remember I live in Jersey. We tested through the winter. Like if it was like 20 degrees, we were out there. I would jet the bike. So we would run, you know, we would test no matter what. We were determined in 2000, we're winning the championship.
Okay.
And that was our you know, our goal was to win a championship. So we started in, God, when did we start? We started after that, the 1999 season. And then we started testing all the way through and really developing that bike with Lauren and all. Then that PC 2000 came out, don't forget too.
Yep.
I had one cylinder, dude, the whole time. I had to take it off, put it back, take it off, bring it back. I mean, it was crazy what we had to do, you know? And I would change bottom. The other stuff too is like, he would blow a bike up. I would meet him on the parkway. It's like a highway in the rest area, right? I would change the motor in 15 minutes and he'd go back riding. Like just crazy stuff like that was what we did, you know.
But you know, at the top level, like it takes,
you have to do that.
It takes that kind of dedication.
Like these kids think that they can go and not. I tell all these young kids, like, you have to test, you have to ride, you have to put the work in, because it's just not going to come to you. Hard work pays off, right? That's how you win championships. I mean, if you work hard like Chad and like Doug Gust and, you know, John Vitale, you know, if you look at all these kids and what they did, they worked hard at it. You know, they put their time in and their money into it, you know, and that's what it comes down to, winning a championship, period. Shocks, number one. Shocks, number one. I don't care what anybody says. I'm saying it right now on your podcast. Shocks are number one in anything.
Hey, it's no different than when you have a beginner and they're putting an ATV together for their kid. And they say, well, what should I do first? And it's like, okay, don't touch the engine at all.
Never.
Put shocks on it.
Shocks.
and go ride it. And
And
as soon as the person is riding it to the capability of that, then start giving them a little more.
You're
And
100% right.
see,
and nobody does it.
but so many people listening right now, we all know those people that just throw like a bunch of horsepower at a stock machine.
Yeah.
You're sabotaging the rider.
They got to understand too much horsepower in a bike or an ATV. You're not getting the power to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a fine line. We'll call that fine line in power to the ground.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
That's great that you have 72 horsepower on a Honda. Are you using it all? No.
Who cares? No. Joel Hetrick can't
You're
use
not.
it all. No,
You're just not. I mean, I'll tell you until I'm blue in the face. You don't even know how much testing I've done in my life
Right.
to tell you this stuff. You know, and that's how I learned through a lot of the greatest with Lauren Duncan. He taught me a lot about everything. Wayne Hinson taught me the most in an ATV. Those two guys are like my heroes in ATV racing, you know? So
yeah, you're talking about royalty right there.
yeah. You know, I mean, I lived with Wayne. I mean, I literally lived with the guy, you know, and we would go out on his boat and he would just talk, you know, to me and just, I mean, overload my brain to like,
right.
I'm like, I hope I remember all this.
Well, and when you talk about the Hinson family, I mean, they're the nicest people on earth. So
phenomenal. I still talk to them this day, all of them, Brian and all that. I see Brian. I see, I see them all the time. When I go to Glamis, I see the whole Hinson family there.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And
yeah.
Rob.
So like, it's weird. Like every year they're there when I'm there. So it's I drive down and I spend a good, couple hours with them,
Like
with Mrs. Hinson and all the kids and all the grandkids, have a good time. So and it's fun. They're great family, man. Great family.
Like old times. So,
oh, yeah.
So tell me about the year that you two won the GNC championship there. I mean, you were talking about the year 2000. Tell me about that, because that was like we kind of discussed. I mean, that was the era of everybody, right?
Yeah.
And you and Travis get it done. I want to hear about that year.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with that ITP tire because no one had that at the time. So we had better traction than a lot of people. And then with the shock development that we did, that definitely helped a lot. And with Lauren's new PC 2000 cylinder, that thing really woke that bike up. Don't get me wrong. Curtis Park still had a heck of a motor. We just got lucky. Not lucky. I think it had to do a lot with Travis's training and his riding ability that really set off that bike that year with us. And with the roll design, Doug did a lot of testing with us, different types of A-arms to figure out what Travis liked and different, swing arm too, and that's when everything was still coming new. Everything was like starting to happen. It was kind of cool.
Yep.
We put a lot of work into that whole championship. God.
And it didn't. If I remember correctly, it wasn't that close, right? Like you guys won it semi.
Oh, we won 8 in a row. We won. Yeah. We won. I think everything.
That's what I was getting at.
I think the only one we didn't win, I think, was High Point.
Okay.
We had 8 in a row. We didn't win High Point, then we won again. But then don't forget we did T racing too.
No, I know. Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
That I miss that.
So do I. I say that all the time. I think that's the coolest thing because that's the best of the best then.
Yeah.
Like there is no arguing, you're the baddest dude on an ATV, period.
You could do motocross, NTT and win both. You're the man. You know what I mean? Agreed. I totally miss that. They should bring that back. Man.
So do I.
They really
I think
should.
it would be so sick because I like
the money. Yeah, but these kids are, they talk about this money. These kids are putting $25,000 into a hybrid. I mean, I put $25,000 into my TT bike, so it's okay. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved TTing, man. I had a lot of fun with that. You know why? No stress for me. I build it, 18 laps. Go get a big boy.
You're good. Yeah. Yeah. No pressure.
No pressure, right? With motocross, you had motos, so you had and then, what stuck back then too is remember they one race on Saturday, one race on Sunday. That made it like a long weekend for a mechanic, because you're
no doubt
you're always tinkering, and then you have a nice sunny day on Saturday, and then Sunday freaking downpours. So you're sitting in your hotel room hearing the rain come. You're like, oh my god, I got to put a mud set up on now, and it's 250R to make those things last through the mud. Travis and I had a very good system with that.
Yeah, they didn't
get a lot of testing.
They didn't just last in the mud. And,
but dude, you suck water, they're done.
You tested that. You tested that though.
Yeah. Travis and I actually we took 2.5, 3 weeks just to test mud setups.
Okay.
What was the best mud setup for us? And then I'm talking A-arms, I'm talking swing arms, I'm talking how wide our axle wanted to be, talking tire pressures, bigger tires, talking air filter boxes to suspension. I mean, everything. Because you got to think about all the mud on there's going to change your suspension. So Travis and I came with a mathematical figuring on what would be best to run. So we would test that shock, this shock, this mainspring, that mainspring. Okay, we got to put a 185 instead of a 175 on for the mud, and we got to put a 300 instead of a 325. And we really thought about all this. Problem is, he lived with me, Travis, for about a year and a half, 2 years, because he was going to college. So him and I would stay in my room, and we would watch videos, and we got way out of control with it.
So it never stopped.
No, all we did was talk about ATV stuff and video games, and eat pizza, and drank a couple beers. Then he would it's so funny. In one story, he was in my room and we're playing video games, hanging out. Had a couple beers. He's like, "Oh my God, I got a test tomorrow. I got to go study for it." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I got to go study for a test." I'm like, "Oh my God." He's like, "It's all right, dude. He gets an A on it." He studied an hour before he had to go to school. I'm like, "Dude, how do you?" He's like, "That's how smart the kid is."
That's what I'm saying.
Travis.
It's a testament. It's a testament to how.
It's a testament, right? Yeah.
How damn smart he is.
Yeah.
So I feel like was. How I guess, because I love that era of ATV racing so much. I mean, that's just what I think of when I think of Paul Turner. But, when the next kind of chapter I feel like for you was Suzuki, right?
Yeah. With Doug. Yep. And Jeremiah.
So at what point did you find your way to Suzuki, and how did that opportunity come about?
What I did, I took, Travis and I, we went 2001, we went back racing, didn't have a very good season that year. We lost Duncan Racing as a sponsorship, really, actually. So Travis tried to do his own thing, try and get his own program, and really made some pretty bad. We both made some pretty bad decisions on that. Okay. And that's where he decided to hang it up, I think, then, because he crashed pretty hard at Southwick. Okay. And it really rung his bell pretty good. Okay. And we were in the hospital, and he pretty much said, "I think I'm done." I said, I get it. I understand. You're going to get married, and you want kids, and I think you also got to think about your future. You are physical therapy and all that. So
absolutely. Oh yeah.
So then I was, I missed it. I missed a year or two of racing. That's when Jeremiah started winning a lot that year with Joe Bird. Actually, I was there. This is funny. I was there at Southwick when Joe Bird, he hit the clutch and the bike stalled on the line. I was there for that. Anyway. Okay. So, so Wayne Hinton came up to me. Okay. At the race, because he was there, because Doug was on the 03. And
Z400.
Yeah. And he said, "Hey, listen, I'm looking for a mechanic for Doug." And he goes, "And the only person I can think of is you." And I said, I'm extremely interested. Okay. So we talked, and they flew me out to California. I had an interview. They also, you want to hear what they did for me to get the job?
Okay, I'm ready.
LTZ 400 frame, every bolt, nut and bolt off the bike in a box, put it together.
Hey, you've done it before.
I know. I did it. Dude, my buddy Sean, who's my really close friend too, Sean Terrace.
Okay.
He could not believe I put it together. He's like, "I can't believe you put that together." I said, "Well, a bolt's a bolt and a nut's a nut, and it only can fit in so much. And I think I got a couple of things wrong, I'm sure, but it ran. So it's okay." But then I really figured it out after that. I mean, oh my God, that LTZ year was my worst mechanicking year ever, worst forever. We went through 50 motors. We had to change a motor after every moto because it wouldn't last 30 minutes. Well, so we'd have to change a motor every time. The cases would break.
They were not made for what you guys were doing.
No, well, we were putting, 450 into a 400. Exactly. So we would change the crank, and, and we were, dude, these cylinders, or these, the heads were like like top notch. They were like getting done by top notch people.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing ran really well, but it just, we're putting a lot of compression into it.
So I'll tell you, I know that they were the first generation, YFZ and TRX at the time.
Yeah.
But it's still incredible for me to see shots of Doug on the Z400 leading the 450s.
I know.
I can't believe that.
That guy.
Well, in Doug's from here. Doug's from Wisconsin. So
right.
I remember being a kid and riding at Doug's house when he's on the Z400.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
So when he's on the Z400, and at the time, I didn't know enough, to how crazy this was. But then the craziest part, and I said this to Doug when we had him on, but just 3 or 4 or 5 years later, the Z400 was a youth class.
Yeah.
So in just a few years, Doug went from winning 6 consecutive pro races on one to Joel Hetrick riding Shane Hitt's old Z400 in the youth class.
Mm-hmm.
That's unbelievable. Like,
I know.
I can't believe that. You see a 400, there's a 400 or a Z400 in the shop right now.
Really?
In my parents' shop. And you look at them and it's like, I don't know how they did it. It's such a beater trail.
You have no idea what we did to make that thing work. Ryan Cox and I and Ricky, we got a lot of work there, buddy. It was a lot. And who was the other guy that helped us out too? The Nolines, Clark. He was a big thing in that too. But like with the Z400 days, that was Jeremiah and Doug, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I would build the chassis. Okay. So I was building 8, 9, 10 bikes a year for that year. And Ryan built all those motors, Ryan Cox, all 50. Like we were trying all kinds of stuff. We would actually hone out the cases and put aluminum blocks in there. Like we would like mill them out, put aluminum blocks to see if that would help, but they still would crack in the same spot. We're like, dude, so we have to, every race we'd have to change the motors. It's just like, oh my God. It was nice. Suzuki was awesome and Yoshimura, because they actually brought the 18-wheeler back to my house for me. So I can work on the bikes here a lot, like when we were on the East Coast. So I didn't have to fly back and forth to California, because I was in California for at least 6 months out of the year.
Okay.
Out, doing all the, putting them together and this and that. And this is when I just got married and I just got, my wife's pregnant. I just had my first kid. Yeah. He was like, whoo, a lot going on.
But it had to be a huge deal for you though, to be, Factory Suzuki, like that was the beginning of the factories being involved. Yeah. So to be part of that, you couldn't pass it up.
Yeah, it was, I couldn't, you know what? They're like, we're going to do full tilt. I'm like, I'm in. I'm like, that was my dream ever to do it, and I'm like, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to go for the run and see what happens,
Right. Yeah.
It was, listen, the best days of my life, man. Yeah. I have to say that whole Suzuki thing, I learned so much from all the Yoshimura guys and Ryan and I. Ryan Cox was a kid, like he was a baby when he came with that. I helped him learn the ATV and he helped me learn motors, So together we helped each other. There were times in the dyno room, me and him were in there for days, just testing cams and pistons and cylinders and Dexacil. I didn't even know what day it was, because I didn't care, because I wasn't home. I was living in a hotel, right? So I worked 15-hour days. I didn't care.
Might as well be in the shop.
Little kid. Yeah. You know what I mean? Best shop in the world. You ever been to Yoshimura?
No.
Oh, no? Oh, it was by far the best. We had our own room. I was right next to Ricky Carmichael. Right across the hall was Ricky Carmichael, Dungy, when he was a little youngster, and it was crazy, Then we had the whole road racing team on the other side of me, and that was that Australian, really fast Australian guy.
Okay.
He rode the Gixxer. I can't remember. He was like 8-time national champion.
Okay.
He was there. He used to come in the shop all the time and stuff. I'm like looking at all these stars. I'm like this little guy, Birdie ATV Racing, and all the mechanics would come over like, "You're not working them things?" I'm like, yeah. Yeah, there's like parts everywhere.
Right,
like, it's like a car. Yeah, it's a car.
Yeah, this is what I do every day.
Yeah, that's what I do. But they would see like in a frame, and they would come back like 5 hours later, and I'd have the whole thing together. And they're like, "You just put that whole thing together?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Dude, that's amazing." They go, that I got a lot of props with a lot of the mechanics. They're like, "Dude, that's pretty cool that you can do that." I said, "Yeah," right. And it runs.
That's crazy. And I feel like so you went from wringing everything out of those Z400s to then transitioning to this brand new LTR, which is kind of a whole nother
I had that thing way before anybody else had that.
Right. And
that thing was a nice machine.
and we heard some of that with Doug, and he took us through, going over to overseas and working on that thing. And that
he didn't tell anybody either. Did he say that on the podcast?
Oh yeah.
He didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew. There's only 3 people that knew. 3. Sure. Wayne, and I don't think Wayne even knew, because we were trying to call him.
Okay.
And he wouldn't answer his phone.
So
we're like, where the hell's Doug?
Yeah. So Doug basically told us, he's like, I can say whatever I want now.
Yeah, he can. Yeah.
So that was cool to hear. Obviously, that they truly made this race quad like around him and listened to you guys and all of that. I mean, that was such a huge thing for ATV racing.
Oh, dude, huge. I mean, Rod, he really pushed hard for that, and he did a really great job, pushing that for that ATV. And I mean, look at it now. Look what it did to the industry. It really changed that industry big time.
It did.
I mean, even today, still changed it.
And, for sure, it did. That's what started where we are now, at least with the Yamaha and all those things. I mean, if it wasn't for Suzuki, because Suzuki got in first, right?
Yeah,
and they
fuel injected.
Exactly. Right. And they really stoked the fire for everything that came after that.
A lot of people were mad. Like Honda, and they were like, "Oh man."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and and Jeremiah and Doug came out with those new bikes, and they started ripping on those things. Man, that was something to see. It was fun. Let me tell you.
Well, think about it. Think about Yamaha and Honda. They come out with this new quad, and they're all proud of it, right?
Yeah.
And they give them 1 year, and now Suzuki's got EFI.
Yep. And also 50 wide, race ready to go. Exactly.
I mean, I remember what that was at the time. Like, it was like, oh my God, I can go just race this thing. And I remember at, I don't know if it was WPSA or if it was ATVA at the time.
WPSA. You were around for that?
Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah. I won a championship WPSA, but I did. But but do you remember? Do you remember, like, one of them had a Suzuki class, like it was a stock class?
Stock class, yeah.
Right. So there was 20, and it was basically like a spec class, which was badass because now it's all rider.
Yeah.
And I feel like, now we're seeing some of that with Yamaha, but 15 years ago or 14 years ago, whatever, that was Suzuki doing it then.
No, it definitely was. And I tell you what, for us to race those things, a lot. We had to have 50 units in the United States.
I know. I remember. I remember all that.
Yeah. And we had 50 like the day before.
Well, I remember Doug telling these stories to us back then, and how close it came. But that's what I was kind of,
I mean a day. Like we're like sitting in the shop, and I'm like, Wayne, can we race these yet or what? He's like, yeah, just get them ready. We'll be okay. I'm like, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna race these things. He's like, yeah. Like, okay.
Right.
I'm gonna put them in an 18-wheeler. Here they go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and like I was gonna say before, I mean, you went from Z400 to that. I mean, it was kind of like baptized by fire, right? Because this is a brand new quad.
Yeah.
And you guys
I was very pleased to have this Z or the R.
I'm sure. Yeah. And Suzuki was such a powerhouse at that time. I feel like it had to be super cool to be a part of that because, again, like, it was the beginning of something that was so big. It was such a, it was the first race ready quad. And for you guys, for you especially, you were there when there was no factory involvement. Then you were there when factory involvement began, and now you had a quad that was built for racers. Like that had to be a huge thing for you to be a part of that whole thing.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie to you, I cried when I first saw that thing because I was one of the first people to see it. I actually had, shed a tear and cried. I'm like, holy cow, this thing is awesome.
Really?
You know what I mean? I'm like, I looked at Ryan, I said, this is gonna change the industry big time.
Sure.
And it did, and
that's cool.
I'm so happy for Suzuki that they, for them I was honored to work for them, I have to admit, and B, to be able to see that, and have that in part of my, I guess, what do we call it? History or whatever, my memory bank for that, really, I really appreciated that, a lot, and it was a fun year, for sure.
Well, for so for so many people maybe that are listening right now or whatever, but you dream of, you have like racing goals, and for you it seemed like it was more of a mechanic thing. Like you like the mechanical side of it,
right?
But that was still your goal, like to make it
right.
to make it to factory level, like you're wrenching for factory team. Like that was the realization.
And for the best, one of the best guys too.
Exactly, one of the greatest ever. Like yeah. So what an opportunity. I mean, that's
one of the best guys I've ever worked for, man. He was really a great. Dougie was awesome, man.
I love that dude so much.
He was funny on the line. There's a so we're on the line in Gainesville. This is when we're on the Z. Yeah, we're on the Z's still. Okay. And the track went left, but he went off the whole shot. He went right.
Okay.
Right? By accident. Because the old way used to go right. That's what he remembered, right?
Okay.
So the next race, I'm on the line. I'm like, Doug, okay, just so you know, you got to go left, not right. You know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, I know. He got all mad at me.
Oh, that's funny.
I used to throw pit boards at him and crap, man. It was funny. It was great. I loved it. We had a good time.
Doug. Yeah.
The Suzuki era was great, just really, really good. And then, and Jeremiah was starting to rip on them things, man. That guy. Oh my God. Doug was getting nervous.
I'm sure.
Yeah, Jeremiah, we figured out the suspension. Once we got Ricky Strickland and we started really testing the suspension, we really got those bikes handling really well. They were coming. And then Ryan figured out the motors. Mm-hmm. Ryan ported them all himself. He did all that himself, and he figured, sure. we had to make valves and all kinds. I mean, it was, you know the drill. I mean, you have to, something new. You got to figure it all out, and that's what Ryan and I did every day, John, kind of figure it out. Okay, what's today? What's this?
So, and I don't want to go down the road too far, but I mean, Jeremiah was about to go in sicko mode and just cream everybody. I feel like for a long
100%.
time.
Yeah. Still to this day, I still think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the races leading up to that whole deal, he was so crazy.
I was the first person there.
Yeah.
I was not too pleased about that situation.
It's still to this day. It's like it doesn't even feel right to discuss it.
It's not definitely. I totally agree with you 100%. Mm-hmm. I got the memory. I know it. I love. He's like a brother to me. I will always be a brother to me. I love that kid. Yep. Till the day I die, man. I love that kid. I will do anything for Jeremiah Jones. He knows it. He knows that.
I feel the same way. I mean, he was my such a hero.
He's my champion.
Yeah, he was such a hero. I spent probably a good 6 months at one time living with the guy, and it was still like every day I just woke up and was like, that's Jeremiah Jones. I looked at him the same way I did back then, right?
Me too. So, I still look at him like, this is Jeremiah Jones.
Too.
I'm like,
Me too.
I used to work for you though, bro.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I built all his bikes too. I built everything for him. So
well, and you built a bunch of bikes for an array of people. Not
Jeremy Lawson too. I did too.
Yep. And I knew there was a bunch of guys that you built stuff for that maybe you didn't necessarily mechanic for, but you built and helped out with a ton of guys.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did. I used to like that Suzuki era. I used to help a lot of people out, like walk around the pitch and just help people. And because people didn't know about it. I knew more about that than anybody. And even with the Yamaha now to this day, I mean, everybody calls me for the Yamaha. It's like, if you have a Yamaha problem, you call Paul. Because Paul knows. Right, yeah. If I don't know, you got a problem.
There you go. Yeah, well, and at that time too, what would have been 2005, 2006, that era there. Yeah. The four-stroke was so new. People didn't know. Yeah. People didn't. You guys knew, and most people did not know.
Didn't know, right? Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely a learning curve for me too. The four-stroke. I mean, how to, what was the four-stroke all about? Because I'm used to two-stroke.
You were a two-stroke guy.
You go to these things and there's a lot more work to them. And if you blow one of those things up, it's a lot of work.
No doubt.
A lot of work,
Right. Yeah. So moving on from the Suzuki thing, the next period would have been with Pat Brown, right?
Yeah.
I mean, was that
downtown Pat Brown, my boy?
There you go. And I feel like, because I never know, people, people that are maybe not like at the races every weekend now, maybe they don't know like what this is about, what a podcast is or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you had commented on some of the stuff about Pat, when, in the time period that we were doing that episode, I'm like, okay, like PT is in, like we'll be able to make this happen. Right. So,
sure.
So how did things end at Suzuki? And then how did that opportunity come with Pat?
Suzuki wanted me to move there to California.
Oh,
they were making a big push to have people live with them because they wanted to expand the program, which they did, with Kevin and everybody, that whole clan. And I just couldn't do it because I just had a newborn with my wife. My wife just got her nursing job. My wife's a nurse. I don't know if you knew that, but my wife's a nurse, and she just got, hired by a really popular hospital by us. And she didn't want to move. I married a Greek. Okay. So you can't move away from family. So mom and dad are here. Okay. And I had to just say, I'm done. I cried for about a week. I was really upset. I was depressed because I did not want to leave Suzuki. I knew something was going on. I knew it. And, unfortunately they had to let me go. And then thank God for Pat, I have to say, and his family. Fred and Pam, I can't thank that family enough to actually let me be a part of that whole era with Pat. I really liked, I really truly am blessed that he gave me the opportunity to work for him and that many years with him too. I mean, I worked for him for 3 years, I think, if not more.
Okay.
To learn the Yamaha. I mean, Pat and I were one of the first people once again to see the new Yamaha. I mean, I had one of the prototypes here in my garage,
Sure.
So, I mean, they actually, Pat, I have to deep down say, thank Pat a lot for that. He's and his family for that for me.
Well, and it had to be pretty cool because yes, you weren't doing the factory thing anymore, but he did end up getting factory support and all that stuff.
No, we have factory support. Yeah. Yeah.
But
I got a lot of relationships now because of Pat with Yamaha. Sure. I mean, I'm still very involved with Yamaha. I mean, with some of the upper people.
So, but then you were kind of going back home to work with a New Jersey guy, and that had to be kind of cool in its own way.
Yeah, that's what was nice because he was only 45 minutes away from me. So we did, it was nice that I can go there, grab the race bike, come to my house, work on it here because I had 2 newborns then.
Sure.
So I,
juggling all kinds of stuff.
That was a whole project on its own to get them asleep, to go work on the bike, to get the bike done so we could go racing. It was like, ordering the parts and ordering this and getting this done and, calling all the sponsors to get hang arms here. And, I did all that for Pat, most of it for Pat. Sure. I mean, Pat absolutely helped out a lot too,
Of course.
We all did. We all had, something to do with it, but.
So that had to be pretty cool. And I think it was probably one of the ATV Open Invitational photos, I'm pretty sure, is what sparked this between us, because you had made a comment about how special of a day that was.
Very special.
And we talked to Pat about that, but he didn't elaborate a ton on how how the day went or how cool it was. I mean, it kind of just wanted to pass by it in typical Pat fashion, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I wanted you to maybe touch on that experience from your perspective, because I feel like when the underdog wins, that's like the most
underdog. We were the under.
That's what I'm
underdog.
Saying. Like, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like
full factories. But there's factory guy.
Right. But there's no better, like, that's the best kind of win.
Yeah.
Like, that is the best kind of win.
It was phenomenal.
Right.
He pulled the whole shot and took it off. I was like, what just happened?
Right.
I'm like, Pat, get him, boy. And I'm like cheering on him. That was one awesome day of my life winning that whole thing. And the track was so muddy. Oh my God. Yeah, it was, but he really rode the best I've ever seen him ride that day. I mean, don't get me wrong. The kid still rides awesome. He's still one of the fastest in the country without a doubt.
Yes.
Same thing with Travis. They all are. It's just, some kids start stepping up a little faster, it just, it is what it is,
It was,
that was a phenomenal day. Fred and I were so excited for the whole thing, and Yamaha was pumped about it. I still have his #1 plate in my shop. I still have the picture of him. I have all the stuff on my wall right now, right behind this wall right here. I have everything of all my memorabilia with Pat and with Chad and Doug and and everything, just you know what, it's nice because I go in there and I work on my harnesses or I do it, my work in there, and I just look up and I go, yeah, I did this, gives me a little, gives me a little confidence boost to keep going,
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, you definitely have a legacy with all that stuff, but I love seeing those pictures because it's just pure jubilation. And there's not that often where you see that, because when a guy like Chad wins or whatever, and early in his career it'd be different, but he's expected to win. So the feeling is different, right? There's not this, just.
No, because think about it, Chad was there. They're all there.
Oh, they were all there. They were all there. That was the who's who. And that's why I wanted to cover it with that episode with Pat, because again, some of our listeners are from an earlier generation that they didn't know that race. They don't even know what that race is about. So I was trying to
even probably been to that track after the younger kids because it's gone.
Right. We haven't raced there since 2013 or something.
Right.
So
it's gone. It's gone, right?
It's gone. And I love that place. I love that place.
Yeah. I actually went there. I was out in Pittsburgh and I actually went there to look and see it. Dude, it's flat. I was like, dude,
that's so sad.
That was my second favorite track in the nation.
Yeah, that's
Red Bud's my favorite track, by the way. Just so you know.
Mine too. Mine too.
I know it's yours.
But so I wanted to tell that story with that episode because I feel like people don't understand. I mean, that was part of the Dirt Bike National. Everybody was there.
Oh yeah.
Everybody wanted to win that race.
LaRocca was watching. Dungy was watching. Carmichael was watching.
Wyndham.
Hemming was watching. I mean, all the top-notch people were there. I mean, everybody watched that race.
Yep.
And just the fact that Pat won that race, I'm like, kudos to Pat Brown, baby. Mm-hmm. I mean, every lap, I'm like, please, one more, please, don't break, nothing break. I was a nervous wreck. My heart was just pumping. I was like, I'm just, get him, Pat. Let's go, Pat. Come on, you can do it. And just the kid did it. I mean, rode a phenomenal race, and hey, we got the gold plate, baby. That's all we have to say.
Hey, and I remember, and I don't know what words I used at the time, but it may have been the one single biggest, most like monumental ATV race that there ever was. It really may have been.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah,
I agree.
That was the first one ever. And
there was only two.
There was only two. Yeah, we didn't do so well next year, but that's okay. I think we got 5th or 6th. Something like that.
He got to wear the number 1 though. I mean,
with that, and that was, to me, I was cool with that. I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So in the years that followed, you were able to you were part of developing the Yamaha, the YFZ 450R, the new style one, like we talked about. So fill the gap for me a little bit, because you team up with Chad, and I think it was 2013, right? So
I took a couple of years off, and then Chad called me.
Okay.
To help him out, just to, to go to the races and help him out, just to be there. He felt very comfortable with me. He trusted me. He's even said to this day, there's only a couple people that he trusts, and I'm one of them. And that's, to me, that feels good. That someone has that trust. That like nothing's gonna break if I, I don't get me wrong. Some of the stuff with Pat and me, some stuff broke, and I learned from that, but very rarely I had stuff break. I wasn't like a every moto thing. I can tell you that. I mean, I was pretty.
God, no.
I'm pretty anal with my quads. I have to admit it. People think I'm out of my mind, but I listen. I look at it this way. I have someone's life in my hands. So why half? Can I say ass? Right? I can say that word.
Yes. Okay. You can say whatever you want.
Okay. Why half-ass it? Right.
Yep.
And try and risk someone's life. So I look at everything I build or anything I do that it's mine, right? And I don't want anybody to get hurt, because I'll feel off from that. You know what I mean? I mean, bottom line, right?
Yep.
So I take that with everything, even with building Doug's bikes, to Travis's bikes, to Pat's bikes, and even to helping Chad out to races. I took that very seriously, with him, and that's what I think Chad really liked a lot about me. Is that I took it seriously, and he had a program. He told me the program. I said, no problem. The program's going to be this way, and I'm going to run it that way. And that's what we did. And all of a sudden, here comes Chad and me winning 3. Here we come.
Well, and Chad and Ryan developed that. Ryan Cox. I mean, because Chad, he's told us up and down that he learned what he needed to do with his program from Ryan.
Oh yeah. And we get Ryan, and where did Ryan
That's where I was going with this. Is you guys had that connection
Yeah.
for years prior, so
Yes.
it was a perfect transition for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan and I were, let me tell you something. That was the dynamic duo right there, man. Us two together we were, whoo, and Ricky Strickland, whoo. If us three could come back right now, you all would be in trouble. That's all I got to say.
Oh, that's funny. So you guys won 3 titles in 3 years.
Yeah.
You and Chad. Those have to be some incredible memories too.
Oh, yeah.
So what was it
Winning all
like?
them, 8 in a row, 9 in a row, and all that. Oh, man.
Which was his most dominant year that there ever was there. In 13.
That year was a fun year.
So what was it like? What was it like working for Chad? I mean, when you started with Chad, he was a 1-time champion, and when you guys got done, he was a 4-time champion. And there's a major difference there, because when he had 4, he had put his name amongst the greats, and obviously, he's won more in years since then. But what was it like working for Chad?
Chad Wienen is a very well-focused rider. I love his thinking. I love his ethics on training, and I love his the way he preps bikes and the way he does it himself. So he learns the bike, so he knows that it's right, and then me going over just doubles and ensures it, right? So his work theory is absolutely phenomenal. Like, that's why he's 7-time champion. He doesn't
100%.
let anything bother him. He's very calm. If you've noticed, when you ever talk to him, he's a calm dude, man. He's just calm, and definitely thinks it over before he speaks, which I like. Not me. I'm wide open all the time, which is okay. I'm allowed to be. All right. I'm from Jersey, so it's obvious.
I was going to say that's a Jersey thing, I feel like.
Yeah. But I think that dynamic between me and him definitely was good, because I would get him pumped up and get him ready, and I miss working for him, man, a lot too. I miss going to the races and, and being there for him, no, it was good. That first year I worked for him, though, I definitely definitely double taked it, because every damn race was a freaking mud race.
Oh.
That was a horrible year, man.
It was.
That was horrible.
How does it rain at every single race?
It did. Every race. I'm like, dude, it's going to rain again. I'm like, I just can't. I'm like, I'm done. It's like,
and there's no pressure more than on the mechanic when that happens. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Because like, it's double the work for me. Like, I don't think these kids know how much work it is in the pro level to get that bike ready for the next race. Exactly. Like, you literally, I take it very seriously. So I don't want a piece of dirt on my damn bike. You know what I mean? Because it's, number one, weighing it down. Yep. So we're losing horsepower. All right, now we're getting out of control. All right, don't worry. But that's how I thought, and that year was, oh my God,
I'll never forget it.
You were racing it too, right? Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite memory or a favorite race from those years with Chad? Anything that stands out?
You want to know? The second year I went with him, we were in Aonia Pass.
Okay.
And John Natali and him were battling. You remember that race? They were battling out back and forth, and Chad got him at the end.
Last corner. Yeah.
Last corner, right? He pulls up on the podium. I come running over, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Here we go, PT." I said, "Here we go." And we went 8 in a row that year.
Yeah.
We smoked it. We were on it that year. It was cool. Yeah, that was a great memory. And actually, the best memory with him was what year? I think the second year he won Loretta's.
Okay.
Flat out. Now, I've been racing Loretta's a very long time. I've never won Loretta's until that day.
Okay.
So I still have the bottle of champagne, not open.
So did Chad know about this ahead of time?
Yes.
Okay.
He did. Yeah.
Pressure was on. Pressure wasn't for the championship.
And I actually cried when I saw him. Like, I gave him a big hug and I said, "Dude, I just want to thank you so much for that, because that's something I needed to check on my, everybody wants to win Loretta's, right? Everybody.
Of course.
Right?
Of course they do. Yeah.
So that was a huge check mark in my, in my history that I always wanted to do. Travis and I didn't even win Loretta's. He got a, what did we get? We got a 1.8. We blew the bike up. The bike seized the last lap
on the championship.
On the first moto. Yeah, the championship. And I had to change the motor, and he went out and was scared, because it wasn't, he was nervous, so he didn't want to let anything happen. So we got an 8th, and we just won that championship with that. So
oh my gosh,
that was a moment,
Right.
That was a moment.
Yeah.
But we won. So I actually have a picture of me and him. He picked me up on the mechanics area, and Tom Vitti took a shot of me and him on the quad, coming down on, the practice area where you come down on there, and he got a shot of me, and I have it in my shop. So I see it every day. It's like memory, it's a good memory,
Hell yeah. That's so special. So last kind of thing I want to touch on is 2016 comes around, and I remember being blown away to find out that you were wrenching for Joel Hetrick and the Phoenix Racing team there. And if I remember correctly, that was very short-lived.
Yes, it was half the season.
I was going to say it had to be a few races tops.
Yeah, no, it was half. It was a little more than half. I mean, Joel won his first mud race, so that
there
helped to do that too.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about that situation? Because I remember being
Joey's. I really enjoyed Joey. Working for Joel. I went down to Alabama where he was testing for a couple of days, and him and I really, hit it off well, and did some things that we were talking, and I was trying to tell him some things, try and help him prolong his career. Because I have a lot of I don't know, advice, I should say.
Well,
so I gave him some of my advice, and he took
learned
it.
A lot of stuff. Learned a lot of stuff over the years.
Yeah, and he took it, and he ran with it, and so he, unfortunately, with that whole Daytona thing was bad for us. Starting out with that whole thing was a nightmare.
Yeah,
but
that was the year that he crashed there.
Yeah, and then he crashed this year too, right? Yeah. Doesn't have great luck there.
No, for him. But I remember being perplexed by that. And I remember thinking it was basically like, I don't know how it all went down, but I remember thinking it was like addition by subtraction, because like maybe Phoenix, wanted to keep you from further assisting Chad while bringing, obviously all the knowledge and experience that you were just referencing to Joel's camp. And at that time, Joel hadn't won a title yet. So all your knowledge was, supremely valuable to a program.
I mean, the team was new, so there was a lot of hiccups in the team, but don't get me wrong, David Eller is a stellar man, and great friend of mine, and he he's definitely built that to where it is today, into a really good race team, and that I was like the beginning of it,
Yep.
So he was still doing his learning, stuff, and I gave him some advice, on some things, and and then my buddy Sean too was working for him, and he worked for JGR, so he knew some stuff too, and
sure.
So it was a good team. It just needed, it had a little bump in the road for me, at least that a bump in the road.
Sure. So I came across some pictures today of you in the Maxxis, whatever it was at the time, Maxxis Honda, whatever it was. And it still doesn't.
Pictures of me, really?
It still doesn't look right. It still doesn't look right.
I'm blue, man. I know.
Yeah. So was that the end of your days in ATV racing then?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. After that day, I didn't I didn't come back. It was time. I was tired of traveling a lot, working a normal job and traveling, and then working on ATVs too. Like, it was
takes away all your free time.
Yeah. My kids were getting older, softball with the kids with my softball. And I was also coaching that too. So that was a lot, trying to finagle all of that stuff.
Sure.
I mean, do I miss it? Yeah, a lot. I miss it every day. I think about it every day still, I mean, how can you not? I mean, I've been in it for so long. I mean, how can you not miss it?
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to touch on.
Do I want to come back?
Well,
we'll see. You never know.
Right. But it was such a good run for you. I mean, from the development of the two-stroke stuff to winning the titles, the Suzuki stuff and the Yamaha stuff. And then with Chad at the end and the array of guys you got to work with, you were around more years of ATV racing than you weren't, honestly.
Right. Right.
So,
right.
so I have to imagine that ATV racing is part of your DNA and probably always.
Oh
will.
yeah. I mean, I still do I do harnesses too for all these Yamahas. You know what I mean? I am
Sure.
really, I mean, I think I did close to 100 harnesses in like 9 weeks this past winter. I mean, it was crazy. You know, I do Chads. I do a lot of people that you don't think that I do.
Sure,
I
sure.
do them, you know.
So how do people get a hold of you?
It's all word of mouth, really. I don't even advertise it. I don't want to advertise it because I just don't. But if you need a harness done, I'll do it. If someone gets a hold of me, I'll do it. You know?
Well, spoiler, you might get a bunch of.
I know. It's okay.
But so how closely do you follow ATV motocross to this day? Because obviously you do. You still keep up with it now. Cause obviously, there's so much that has changed, but so much is still the same. I mean, Chad is, obviously 7-time champion now, and he's entrenched his name, amongst the greatest riders ever.
And more to go, baby.
Yeah. And Joel is as talented as anybody. And I know that,
that kid is so talented.
And you were tight with Thomas there too.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh yeah, Thomas too. Yeah, I totally forgot. TV, me TV, baby.
Mm-hmm.
He's my boy. He's like my little brother.
Right. And I figured that we were going to touch on that, and he's retired now, but there's a number of young riders coming up too that are fast, and was just curious on how closely you were following it. But obviously you're following.
I'm following it every day. I'm on Instagram.
I love it.
Dude. Yeah, it's me. It's just me.
I love that though, because some people, when they get away, they like just cut it off, and I can't relate to that.
Yeah. I just cut off going to the races. That's what I cut off in my life. I didn't cut off the friendships. I didn't cut off, the business part of it either, and the media. I follow it because I don't comment much. FYI, I don't comment much, and I commented on your stuff.
Yeah,
just
right.
If you ever look back, I don't comment much. But
I'm the same way. I don't do much commenting. I just
unfortunately you can go down a wrong hole, and
no doubt.
Yeah, I'm not that guy.
Me either.
Everybody has their own opinion on something. And
well, the thing is people only like such a large percentage of people, this is all I'm going to say about this, but such a large percentage of people only speak up when they have something shitty to say.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them guys.
Yeah.
Neither are you.
There's no need to say anything, man.
But I feel like it stops a person from commenting, right? Like you're better to stay out of it.
Yeah. Like I read some of these comments and I'm like, I don't even want to go down that road because I know, and you don't know.
Who has time for that kind of negativity?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
If you have any negativity in racing, you're not going to be a champion.
Exactly.
You got to stay away from the negativity. Always got to be positive. And if you have a bad race, or you have something that goes wrong with you, a negative part of it, you need to take that negativity and turn it into a positive and learn from that. And that's what makes you a better rider and makes you a better person too. And that's my motto in racing. People get mad. Oh, this guy took me out. Okay. He took you out. It was a bad thing, but you need to learn from it because obviously you got taken out because of what? You did something wrong, right? And it's going to happen. So now you learn from those mistakes, it makes you a better, faster rider,
Hey, whoever's listening to this right now needs to pause this, rewind it, and listen to that a few more times because yes, there is no room for negativity, especially when like you were doing it at the very top level, but still at the end of the day, it was for fun. You were having fun. You were enjoying it.
Yep.
That's what it's all about. So
I definitely fun. It was definitely stressful. Yes. Fun. Very fun. It was very fun because you're not going to find people in this industry they're so nice, everyone's like a family, you know what I mean? Even if you didn't know the person, they still, hey, like I see something, hey, you need a hand, oh I love, everyone helps everybody. You're not going to find that in the world, you know what I mean? Like the ATVs place, you don't find that in motocross, I can tell you that much.
No, you do not.
Those guys hate each other, man. It's
exactly.
It's kill, I mean, Chad and Joel and Thomas, they're competitive, right? On the track, and okay, they do some bumping, they do things. That's racing, That's why if I build something for Joel, I'm gonna build it for Chad too. I'm gonna build it the same way because That's up to them to win, not me. I'll make you the best, but you guys need to hash it out. The rider themselves,
Exactly.
Exactly. It's all about the rider, everybody, not about the bike. FYI too. So let me just put that out there.
Preach
You're shaking your head too. Yeah.
Preach it. So then I need
never blame the bike. It's not the bike's fault. It doesn't have a brain.
Well, that's coming from the mechanic. That's what the rider always says. When anything goes wrong, it's the bike. Something's wrong with the bike.
Yeah.
It's never the bike,
man. Figure it out. Something like be a digger, Doug. Figure it out.
Oh,
if something's wrong with the bike, you figure it out. That's what he did. I mean, that guy won a championship on stock tires. Okay, so there you go.
He's amazing.
Yeah. So, he was definitely one. He was.
There will never be another.
Never change the thing. Leave it. It's fine. Doug, you don't want to change gearing? It's fine. I'll
he would just ride it. He would just ride it. Amazing.
Might not be the fastest one, but he'll figure it out how to get there.
See, and the thing, and it was crazy when the times changed and the newer style of riding came, and you had Dustin Wimmer manipulating the bike, and you had, obviously Jeremiah and all this stuff, and there was Doug looking like Doug, but he was going just as fast as everybody else.
Still there,
Unreal.
Yeah, Unreal. Dustin, that 1 year, Dustin dominated. Boy, he was on. Woo, that kid's. Woo,
crazy,
I miss watching him ride a quad too. I mean, unfortunately, he left too.
Yeah, me too. So, talking about current stuff, who do you have winning this 2021 title then?
Oh, come on. You got to give that to me right now, really?
Well, so is Chad, and I kind of wanted to think, I mean, do you think that Chad is going to get to 8, or is he going to surpass 8? Because that's the magic number with Gary. And maybe I don't even say, maybe I don't need to
do this to me.
Maybe I don't need to hold you down and ask you this year, but is Chad going to surpass it? Do you think Chad can get there?
Yeah.
You do. Yeah, I think so.
Do I think Chad won the championship? Sorry, Joey. I think so. I probably just put some fire underneath his little butt though. I do think Chad can do it.
Man, I think that Joel is going to be out with something to prove on that Yamaha every time.
I better say, hey, Chatty Daddy, you better get your act together and you better start freaking, doing a PT here, okay, pal? Because Joey's coming. I can tell you that. So, but it's I think it's going to be down to Loretta's again.
Oh,
I think it's going to be a 1 point difference, 2 point difference. I think it's going to be that type of thing, as long as Joey doesn't DNF, man, or Chad, both of them, and it's going to be a battle. I mean, Joey's got some work to do right now, though. He's got some work to do.
It's going to be fun to watch.
Those young kids coming up, the Ford kid and Max, those kids they're going pretty good, man. And actually Janus is going pretty good now.
New Jersey guy.
Yeah. He's coming. So I think that last race, definitely gave him a little spark. And we'll see. I mean, Joey and Chad are definitely in a different level though with their lap times. Like these kids gotta understand. I don't think people understand lap times as much as I understand lap times. Like, yeah. Okay, 1 lap. Right.
They do it every lap, though. They do it every single lap.
Right.
It's unreal.
And then they get faster. They don't go slower. They keep it consistent. If all the young kids that are listening to this, consistency will win you a championship, period. That's the end of story. DNFs will not win you championships. So always wash your bike. Make sure you have a clean air filter. Check over your bolts every race, because that's the main thing, is to have that bike finish. Don't try not to be cheesy, and $1 here, $2 there. I mean, you really, if you want to win a championship, you gotta spend a little bit to get one. It's not going to come to you, not putting any money into your bike. Yeah, your bike's new now, right? Because you got 1-2 races, but you definitely need to do some maintenance to it, coming 3-4 down, pistons, rings, top ends are good to know. Look at your valves, check your valve clearances. That's huge, because 1 DNF, you're done,
Absolutely. Well, you guys heard it here. I mean, that's right from the source with all the history and the background in ATV racing. You should probably listen to this man. So that's valuable.
What advice is that? That's the one everyone should take. Consistency will win you a championship, and there's no I in team. So just remember that too.
There you go. Well,
I know there's a me in team though.
PT, I can't thank you enough for this. This has been an absolute blast.
Yeah. And anytime you want to do it again, I'm here, man. So
I truly really appreciate it, and to hear all these stories and to just hear, that's stuff that you don't hear anywhere else other than from somebody like you that's been around and been in those inner circles, and to hear, from the Spader days to the Suzuki stuff, and it's just it's incredible. So if you ever want to come back, tell some more stories, I would love that, and I just can't thank you enough for fitting us in.
anytime, buddy. Maybe you'll see me at a race. You never know.
I would like that. I feel like we got a connection now.
It's all good, man.
Awesome, man. Well, it's been an honor. That's Mr. Paul Turner, brought to you by Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code diggingdeep20 at manscaped.com. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Holy cow. What an episode. Major thanks to tonight's guests, multi-time national championship winning mechanic Paul Turner, Alan Myers, and PH3 Photos Josh Cline. Thanks to producer Dallas Jansen, my brother. Thanks to Brooke and AMA official Harv Whipple. Thanks to our sponsors, CST Tires, shop.csttires.com, Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew, Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Gripped Gloves, Factory 43, Bike Strikes and Quads LLC, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code diggingdeep20 at manscaped.com. Support the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. Find it all on our website, and be sure to click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner for all your off-season needs and to help us out. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. Our show merchandise, including Digging Deep shirts and hoodies, our new Quad Guys Get Hot Chicks shirts and hoodies, back-to-back national championship merch, and more are all available at shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com. If you're looking for another easy way to help us out, visit our website and click the Buy Me a Coffee button. This allows you to set up a one-time or monthly contribution to help us out. You can call our voicemail line anytime, 920-569-3519, and follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional content and Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy info as we roll full speed ahead into the season here. Remember, you can still sign up at atvfantasy.com today. I can promise you don't want to miss it. So much fun. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. All episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links, and discount codes, our new show merchandise, fantasy info, and more can all be found on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com. So check that out today. Again, go to atvfantasy.com to sign up and or lock in your picks today for our Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy League before the next gate drops. Be a friend, tell a friend. Please download, subscribe, rate, review, and share. And with that, for Paul Turner, Alan Myers, Josh Cline, Brooke Catherine, Dallas Jansen, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen. Thanks for listening to the #1 podcast in ATV Racing, 2 million downloads and counting. Until next time, thanks for joining us in Digging Deep with the Stars of ATV Motocross. Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gust, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quadlers are freaking gnarly.